So truly a business like this, like you've got to ask yourself, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Is it because you think it's a windfall that suddenly the money just rolls in and for no work? That's not true, as you can say. Like, yes, it's a digital product, and yes, I can sell a pattern at 2 a.m. and not do anything, but I'm answering, customer service. I still have to post content everywhere so people know about the product. Like, there is still work.
Hello and welcome to this last episode of Season 1 of Splitting Seams. My name is Shannon and I am your host. So for this last episode, I sat down with Lindsay from Linds Handmade Designs. Linds is someone who is very well known in our community. She has reached not only within our digital online community that we almost solely exist in for bag makers, but she also has expanded to have a physical presence in various quilting stores and things like that through her paper version of her patterns. So Linds has a very far reach. She's expanded her business very much, and she's just been very well known, and her designs have been very popular in our community since before the pandemic. So it was nice to finally get a chance to sit down and talk with her and just kind of pick her brain a little bit about her design process, about kind of her family involvement in her business, and just kind of how her brain works in regards to bag making and designing. And I've known Linds since I think we first met at the first Wizardry Getaway, so I want to say that was 2021, 2022, some point in that time frame. But we haven't had the opportunity to have this kind of conversation, so it was really nice. And I did save her for the last episode because I thought that a lot of you would really appreciate it, and it's a nice way to tie the bow on the end of the season. So let's get into it. But before we do that, I just want to say that if you don't plan to listen to the entire episode, which no judgment, I know that they're long, I do ask that you just kind of pop in at least to the end of the video so that, I can kind of say my little thanks and things like that for the end of the season. I want to just make sure that that part is heard, if nothing else, because this has been a really awesome journey for me, and I would just like to express my gratitude. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Hey, Linds, welcome to Splitting Seams.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so glad that you agreed to come on and that you were very flexible with your schedule. I saved you for last because I think that a lot of people are going to be so excited to have you on, tie a little bow at the end of the season. So, yeah.
Thanks.
So a lot of people know you in the sewing community because you, I would say, are probably one of the most well-known of us indie designers, as far as I think you've had the biggest reach, at least that's my opinion, but I'm not sure how somebody coming into the sewing world would feel now because there's a lot more, but to me, that's my opinion. So, but for those that don't know, could you maybe introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your business and then maybe how you got into sewing and kind of where it evolved to now?
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm Linds. I go by Lindsay or Linds, doesn't really matter. I was just explaining to you a little bit ago that when people call me Linds, it feels like we're really close. And part of me is super touched by that, but also it is my business name. So I understand why people say, hey, Linds. I love it. I do. I've been sewing pretty much my whole life. In middle school, I think we had to do those mandatory classes and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The class went by so fast and I was so focused, and just seeing something in pieces come together was absolutely fascinating to me. So anytime I could fit in sewing in my childhood, I did. I started my business, gosh, I don't even remember the exact date because originally it was sewing to sell and it was for a tax write-off for our home build that never happened. It was my husband's idea. He's like, why don't you start selling some of the stuff that you're making? And I was like, ugh, I don't know anything about running a business. And he's like, that's not a big deal. I do. Then we could, write off part of this house that we're building. Ended up not building that house. And then, I'm still stuck kind of running a business. And initially I was making anything anybody was willing to buy, particularly baby items because it didn't take much materials,
Right.
anything. And then it was a few years into that where I was kind of sewing what I wanted to sew during my baby's nap time or bedtime when someone said they were talking about their logos. It was another fellow maker. And I was like, ooh, I need a good logo. She's like, well, I don't really know what your brand's about. You kind of all over the place. And I was just like, you're right. I am everything. I need to kind of narrow my focus and really do that. And so it was at that moment that I decided making bags was really what lit my fire and the challenge of figuring out something. So then I kind of narrowed my focus into just making bags and accessories. And then people were asking me what pattern I was using. And I didn't know that there were bag patterns, to be honest. I knew there were
Okay.
clothing patterns that you could buy, like those Vogue or Butterick. I remember that from school, but I didn't know you could actually buy bag patterns. So I was just looking at something or figuring out something I needed and just creating it on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that I was trying to be secretive or this is mine, I'm not sharing my pattern, I want to be unique. It's just I didn't use one. And someone's like, well, would you mind or do you ever consider making patterns to sell? I was like, I don't even know where to start. My cousin ran a pretty popular DIY blog, and
Okay.
she'd asked me to be a guest on her blog a couple times for sewing projects. I love that. I loved teaching. I loved helping her write it up. I loved doing the process stuff, but I didn't know the first thing about creating pattern pieces that you could print out at home.
Yeah.
No clue. And then just oddly enough, someone had private messaged me and said, I saw your comment on some posts that you're not opposed to creating patterns for other people to use. You just didn't know how. Well, that's what I do. I think she called it CAD.
Okay.
Is that,
Yeah.
what is that?
CAD.
I don't know what it
Yes.
stands for off the top of my head.
Computer something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, she
it's essentially
designs,
3D
yeah. She
3D
goes,
created on
that's
a
what I do
computer.
for my main thing. She goes, I'd be happy to take your drawn pattern pieces and make them digital. She goes, I don't need any part of, like authorship or credit or anything. My only payment that I would request is like a finished product of it. So
Mm-hmm.
like the first one was the Dana pack. I was like, okay. So I mailed her, I mailed her my pattern pieces. She created those, sent them back, and then I just started typing up the first one. And I thought, if I could sell 100, this would be worth it to me because then I feel like if you cut out all the like sales tax and fees and stuff, I felt like $5 by 100. If I could make $500 on what I just did for this, like to me that would have been worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have covered the cost of my time and effort, and then anything after that would have been just gravy and like a bonus.
Right.
So I remember when I first launched that, like counting the cha-chings on Etsy. I was like, oh my gosh, I have it for sale. And then, a little while later, another one, and I'm keeping tally of 15. And I was texting my sister. I'm like, I sold 15 patterns. And it was just such a whirlwind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall how long it took to sell the 100. I really don't. But I enjoyed it so much. And the feedback, and then to see somebody make it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was just like such a high for me. I love it. So that's kind of what started it off. And that also made me love what I do because I hate sewing to sell.
Yeah.
Selling brings me zero joy and I didn't want to do that. So
Exactly.
pattern writing, I think, is finally what I found is my thing, what I want to do.
And so do you remember when that was that you wrote that one?
And that was 2019 because I think I was
Okay.
asking my hubby about that because, yeah, I believe it was 2019.
Okay.
My middle son was pretty young, and yeah,
So
2019.
that was your first pattern. So do you know how many you have out in total now?
I
In
didn't
2020?
count. I do think it's over 30.
Really?
I do.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you. That's a lot.
But I don't have I need to do it every month. I need to do it every 6 months.
Yeah.
None of that. Like
Do you
I
have
only
like goals
release.
per year?
Never.
Just
I
when
release when inspiration hits because I have
Fair.
I have to be passionate about it. I can't be like,
Same. Same.
And my last pattern I released was in January. We're in May, so it's 4 months. I'm feeling like, I need to stay relevant if I want to do this. Like I need to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't force that process. I can
No.
relate to you in that it cannot be
No.
forced.
Yeah, absolutely not. If it's not there, I will not continue on. Which is actually interesting because just in the last like 2 weeks, I have been working on this large, complex bag, and I was like, you know what? For the first time, I'm going to put this in a little creative timeout and just switch gears because I'm not feeling that love and that
Oh,
passion that I know
mm-hmm.
that is what drives when I'm passionate about it, it drives my motivation, my energy, my creativity, and all that stuff. And if it's not, it's a drain. And so I needed to switch
100%.
gears.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
And so
really,
smart that you did that.
oh,
Because I think
thank you.
you'll give it what it needs at the right time.
Exactly, exactly. Um, and it'll still be there. Like it's like at a percentage of the progression, right? So I'll just
Yeah.
pick it back up. It's already cemented in there, but it needs a little bit of creative output. So I'm glad though that you respect that about yourself because I think that, honestly, just respecting your own creative process is what keeps you going and it
Mm-hmm.
prevents burnout too, which is
Mm-hmm.
really important.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so you were saying you really dislike sewing to sell.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so do you
Oh my
ever
gosh.
sell any of your bags anymore?
Yes. I once told my sister, I'm like, if you want to come over and like take process photos and type up a description and choose a price, I don't even care. I'll give you 10% of, whatever it sells for. The struggle that I have is that I don't want to just randomly price it, but I also don't keep track of supplies and time it takes and all of that stuff. So
Okay.
in my mind, everything takes 2 hours, but realistically, I know that's not true. So, and people look at me for guidance on pricing. They're like, well, the designer charges this and you're trying to charge that. Like, how dare you? And that's never my intention. I never want
Exactly.
to undermine somebody who sews for a living. I'm truly just trying to offload the inventory.
Right.
My studio looks like I'm prepping for a show, and it's because I don't know what to do with the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I
I
just
think
need to
it's
move
okay
it.
to I think it's okay to sell but I also I recognize, in a similar position when I sell my bag, it's it's an example for people to look at and compare to their own
Mm,
businesses. And I never want to feel like one, I'm selling to my customers that are my pattern customers. I don't want ever to feel like for people to feel like I'm saying, hey, I know that you bought my pattern, but also buy my finished product. Like, no, I want you to make. I'm writing
mm-hmm,
this so that you can make it as good as I can. You don't need me.
mm-hmm.
But at the
100%.
right. But at the same time, like same, I have this I don't have the space. I literally have the top of two calyx shelves to store finished bags. That is it. So like I have nowhere else to put them. So I have to either cut them up or sell them. And I feel like it's a 50-50 of what I do. 50% I cut up, 50% I
Mm-hmm.
sell. But
Yeah.
that is hard because especially once you've developed a following, you are like myself, I know how much it costs me down to the
Mm-hmm.
cost of every
Oh,
rivet.
I know you too.
But I also that's not the only pricing calculation that goes into play there. So
Mm-hmm.
it is
Mm-hmm.
really tough. I think for anyone that sells anything, pricing things is probably the hardest part
Yes.
of one of the hardest parts of your business. So I get that. But when you were sewing to sell,
Mm-hmm.
you said you were doing a lot of small things, baby things like that. So were they clothing? And then
Yeah, like
or
baby bibs,
okay,
what
like
blankets.
accessories.
Yes, the stuff that didn't take a whole lot of materials and was quick and satisfying to make, and I wouldn't mind if people had requests making
Mm-hmm.
more of them,
Yeah.
those types of things. Yeah. And of course my kids were little, so they were
Yeah.
the what motivated me to make stuff and then to see
Yeah.
them wearing it, it was so cute.
I know. Oh my gosh. So I was making clothes for a few years before I started making bags. And to put my little toddler in like a custom hoodie or
Mm-hmm.
whatever is just really the cutest. And so
It really is. And I see why people go down that rabbit hole of wanting to make
yeah,
their kids all of the things because it's so dang cute.
it really is. It really is. Okay, so you started selling patterns in 2019, and I know that you were an RN
Mm-hmm.
before then, and
Mm-hmm.
so and then throughout your the first few years of you doing patterns.
Hmm.
So at some point you decided to go full time with the pattern business. When was
Hmm.
that? Like how far into your
I
pattern
actually
business?
left the bedside in 2021. So
Okay.
I worked pregnant throughout the pandemic, and then I had a newborn and baby at home while still working during the pandemic. And it was just becoming a huge burden for me to worry about childcare during that time and leaving
Mm-hmm.
my baby. I was working the evening shift, and then my
Okay.
husband would watch him in the evening, or I'd rely on my mom. And
Mm-hmm.
it was hard
Yeah.
because my mom was really close with my two youngers. Like she would come over and cuddle the babies because she'd be in the same town, and then I could go back to bed. Like she was so hands-on, so helpful for me. But during a pandemic, when everyone's, isolating, she didn't have that same relationship with my youngest Mav. So he wasn't as comfortable with other people. It was just me and my husband. So to try and go and work a shift a week, because I was registry after I had my kids, which means, it's basically one shift every 6 weeks. First to be cut, no benefits, but a little bit of a higher pay. But to figure out the one shift based on my husband's travel schedule, and then my mom, who didn't feel like she knew this baby as well. He wouldn't want to take a bottle. It was just such a burden. And then just all of the politics at the hospital with the pandemic. I was like, you know what? For the first time in my career, I feel like this chapter of my life is done. My pattern business was now taken off, and I could easily have spent full-time hours just with social media, customer support, design, all the ideas that I wanted to work on. That I think this is the time, Even when
Mm-hmm.
I had my kids, I never was going to quit nursing. That's why I cut down, but I would never quit because I didn't want to lose my skills. I worked so hard for that degree that the thought of even 3-month maternity leave, getting back into it was like starting all over. New
Yeah.
doctors, new protocols and meds and everything. But in 2021, something just kind of switched, and I thought, I, I'm done. I'm going to keep my nursing license active. I still very, very passionate about healthcare and all that other stuff. I love talking shop with my sister, who's
Mm-hmm.
still an ICU nurse. But I think if I were to go back, it would be a functional medicine setting because I want people to care about their own health. And at this point, people don't. The amount of people who would just take the pills I'm giving without knowing what they're for, I'm the first person telling them. It's just like, it was soul sucking.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
everybody's so sick and they like didn't care. They wanted the quick fix, get me out of here. But I get a 27-year-old, I'm like, oh good, this should be an easy shift. No, they've got this laundry list of chronic health conditions. I'm just like, what difference am I making? At this
Mm-hmm.
point, I felt like I was contributing to the problem because I'm now pushing medications and protocols that I no longer believed in. I felt like there's a better way. Um, So anywho, my pattern business was taking off, just as I feel like a lot of people's businesses, handmade business and pattern businesses in
During
2020 and 2021.
during the pandemic.
The amount of people who've told me they learned mask making as their first ever
Right.
project, pulling grandma's sewing machine from the attic to making my H2O to go, like I could probably retire. Like the amount of people who have attempted that being a brand new maker is crazy to me.
Right.
But then they made one and they went down that rabbit hole and
Right.
love it. And I think that's also why a lot of other people, because people were buying so many patterns that a lot of other people were like, well, I have a design, I'll try it. So we have a lot of new designers now, which is great, lots of options, but at the same time trying to stay relevant and keep up with the trends, and it's hard.
It is really hard. We've talked about that a lot on the show.
Yeah.
About just, the market saturation. It means a lot of things, some good, some
Hmm.
bad,
Hmm.
but it presents challenges for people like you and me. Um, and it will continue to get more challenging the further on we go.
Yeah.
Um, but if you have this, blooming business, I'm sure that that helped make that transition of leaving full-time nursing, or
Yeah.
even as the word that you used for like the occasional nursing shift, uh,
Hmm.
that probably made that transition a little bit easier and a little less daunting of a choice
Hmm.
to make, I have to
It's
imagine.
true. It was really only then that I would say my business was making a profit versus just stagnant or losing money. Like my husband was
Hmm.
constantly harping on me to raise my prices. He's like, "You're not a business, babe, if you're not making money. Like if you're just sewing to replenish your stock of, supplies, that's one thing, but we can't call that a business." I was like, "Well, I understand. I never really wanted to sew to sell, but the selling of the patterns I love." So I'm glad that I did it. I feel like it was just I entered it at the right time, really.
Hmm.
The in 2020, like I said, was when I released the H2O to go. I was trying to get that one out before I went on my maternity leave. And that was the one that kind of really took off. I think people enjoyed the Dana because fanny packs were just starting to come back.
Hmm.
But it was this H2O to go that people were like, "Oh my gosh, I need to try it." And that's
Hmm.
kind of what kind of launched my business. I think what made me get to be known in the bag making community was probably that pattern.
Yeah, that was very, very popular when it first
Yeah.
released. I remember I sold, I don't know how many I've made. I probably made like maybe 12, 15, something like that. But I mean, they were just all over the place. So I totally understand that. But you said, so your husband also, he's like a really big part of your business as well as
Hmm.
also your sister too. So can you talk a little bit more about like kind of how they kind of help you maybe on a day to day or like a kind of big
Okay.
picture?
So initially I had reached out to my sister, "Hey, you want to do a business with me?" And she's like, "I don't know the first thing about running a business." I'm like, "Same, but we're not doing that. Erin's going to do that. We're just going to make pretty things and hope that people buy them." She's like, "Okay." I do think from the beginning, though, she knew, or we both kind of knew it was going to be more my baby than ever it was hers.
Okay.
Because at that point, I was like, the Linds Handmade, what I had originally had it, my stuff was handmade by Linds, and I had a blog
Hmm.
under that about my kids and then just craft projects I would do. And then I thought, you know what? I want to switch it to Linds Handmade because that's more encompassing of other people making my stuff and not handmade by Linds where it's just
Yeah.
me. And I thought, okay, well, if we're going to do a rebrand to just that little minor tweak, like, do you want to switch it all together, something that encompasses both of us? And she's like, "Not really." And I was like, okay. So that told me what I needed to know. Like she would love to help me and do anything that I would ask of her, but it wasn't going to be her baby. So
Hmm.
we knew early on that it was going to mainly be my thing. So anytime I would need her to help with photos, make stuff, like take on a custom order that I didn't want to do, she would do that. And then she helps me film my videos. If she can test the pattern before I give it to my testers, all the better because people think we're twins and we're identical. But she only told me recently that everything sewing related she learned from me. And I didn't know that. I thought we kind of had the same base knowledge. And in hindsight, I realized most of it's self-taught, just curiosity, guessing and checking and trying, see what works. But she's like, no, if you didn't tell me to do it in the pattern, I didn't do that. I'm like, what? I go, it was kind of assumed in this sentence. She
Yeah.
goes, where? How is that assumed? I'm like, because we were filming the tutorial for the Mav pack, and one of the options is you can hand stitch the front bottom, or you could
Hmm.
top stitch that whole panel. And so she top stitched it, but she only did it about the bottom. So as we're filming it, she goes, "Wait, why did you go all the way around?" I said, "Because that's what you're supposed to do." She goes, "No, you said you could top stitch the whole closed." I go, "Yeah, but go all the way around." She goes, "You didn't say that." I'm like, "What?" So that
Some people are very literal in that way, and you won't
Oh
know
my gosh.
until
Okay,
something
but
like
she
patterns.
is absolutely brilliant when it comes to understanding pathophysiologies and the whys of things. Like, so smart. Me, not so much. She got the highest grade in our microbiology class. I barely squeaked by with either a high C or a low B, and I was mortified that it was that low, but she just gets those things. So when we're sewing and she didn't like naturally understand that next step, I'm like, what? So that's why I'm like, if I can give my pattern to her first, she'll
Mm-hmm.
go through it and she's like, this makes no sense. What do you mean? The picture is showing it with the words. Are you saying they're not matching? She goes, no, I'm saying that you skipped something. And I was like, well, what? So truly, she's my target market. Like if she can make it from start to finish, then I'm like, okay, I can breathe easy and give it to my testers because she's gonna mess it up if there's anything wrong. And then
Oh,
at least if she gets mad at me because she used the good materials, it's not my testers who are mad at me.
that's fair. It's a good price. It's a easy price to pay, right?
Yeah, I'm like,
Um,
I'll make it up to you, I promise.
yeah.
Because she shops my stash. Like she didn't have to pay for any of that. She just took it from mine.
That's fair. That's fair. So what about Aaron? What does he do?
Okay, so
Mainly for you.
My husband has his MBA.
Okay.
He's been growing baby businesses since he was a baby. Like he loves all things entrepreneurship. So um, he just only stepped away later in life to pursue flying full
Okay.
time. But prior to that, he was in the tech industry and helping, businesses grow. So he loves all things business. So he's constantly talking to me about stuff. And I was like, I don't get it. That doesn't make sense. Like my industry won't support that. And he's like, it doesn't matter. All business is the same principles. Like you've got to do this. And he's like, if you can't charge what you need to on this product, you don't make it anymore. He's like, you got to make something that's either faster or cheaper and then charge this. I'm like, oh. So, finally, almost 10 years in, I'm suddenly like, aha, like so much
Mm-hmm.
of what he's been saying to me for years is making sense. So he runs all of the back end. So honestly, if people are, writing a customer service email, it's probably him or my
Really?
brother-in-law, Stefan, responding. Um, we have the chat. Sometimes they'll pop in, sometimes I do. Like most of the times, he'll try to field the nasty emails so I don't even see them because
Wow.
I'm very sensitive, super sensitive to negativity and like angry outbursts in email, even though it's usually user error and I understand that frustration. But he'll get that question and he'll answer it, and I'll have never known about it because he knows how sensitive I am. He goes, babe, to be in business, you really got to develop a tougher skin. I'm like, but they're just so mean for no reason. Like, give me a chance to make it right. He goes, I know, but welcome to business. So
Yeah.
he does the website. He's always trying to think of how to make the customer service, the customer experience better. Um, Ease of checking out, finding stuff, navigation, just constantly thinking about scalability, things that we can offload off of my plate so I can just focus on things that only I can do. Um, so yeah, he's an amazing person to have in your corner
I
for
was gonna say,
all
yeah. I
business
mean, you're
things.
pretty lucky because that's so many of us have all of that burden,
I know.
and that is, it would be nice to be able to outsource that for free
Hmm. Hmm.
versus
Hmm.
having to pay for it.
I
Um,
know.
does he help you handle like the tax side of things and
Oh,
stuff like
I don't
that
know
too?
anything about taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know any.
But does
If
he?
it's, oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
I mean, he has to handle the VAT taxes. He has to handle all of those. Oh, yes. Like, seriously, I am a passenger princess in this life. Like, it's too much adulting for me in a lot of ways. But he's heard me talk shop with a lot of my fellow small business. He's got a big heart for entrepreneurs. So, one of the things that's been on his mind is he's like, gosh, I wish, we could have like a resource for people like your friends and me, because if he wasn't doing all of this, I wouldn't want to run a business. Like
Yeah.
we talk about, like if something were to happen to him, would I keep Linds Handmade going? Like, I don't know if I'd want to be honest. My brother-in-law, his brother, he helps in a lot of ways too. So he could probably kind of help guide me, but the same time, it's like it's the team effort and the fact that we work on something that we're both pretty passionate about to grow because it is truly a family business. It's not only like made my business more enjoyable, but it's brought us closer
Yeah.
because he used to pour everything into growing other people's companies and he would bring that work home. So when he was home, he wasn't home. So when he finally decided to step away from that and just change, focus on the airline where he does his trip, he's gone. But when he's home, he's home. And
Yeah.
either we're working on our family-based business together or we're doing family things. So since he's done that, it's like night and day difference in my business, but also just in marriage and our family too.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wonderful gift,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah. And it's something to think about because for so many of us, not many of us designers or business owners have some form of a business degree, right?
Right.
And so when we jump into this, we're kind of learning as we go. And it was funny,
Same.
I was just talking with my accountant about this a couple weeks ago, and it was like, it is tough because like I don't know all of the things that I should know, and I
Hmm.
hope for the best, and I try, and I also try to make it fun for me, and I try to make the choices that will give me the most satisfaction as well, because that's part of why I'm doing this, right? Is
Hmm.
so that I can enjoy it too, and I just want
Hmm.
to share that with others.
Yeah.
But, if you really, really want to succeed, then, it would be great to jump in here with a degree to start with. Like, you know how to mentally organize the things that you need to do to make the business successful.
Yes.
But so many of us don't really have that. We don't have that starting off point or that resource that doesn't cost us enough money
I
that we can't
know.
even afford it.
I know.
Um, so it's a lot to think about. It's a challenge. And it's really stressful sometimes
Hmm.
when you have to worry about that stuff.
I feel like most of us in this bag making community, whether you're writing patterns or selling materials and hardware or selling your bags, all of us started as a hobby. All of us we dabbled in it because we liked the hardware or we liked to make something and someone is like, oh, how much would you charge? And then it's like, oh, other people want this. Okay, I'll just sell them that. And most of us just kind of fall into a business and it's hard for us to determine when it's a hobby versus that business
Right.
and then the necessary steps to go from a hobby to a business. Because
Mm-hmm.
truly, I've never grown up thinking in terms of running a business.
Yeah, no.
My husband, he's just kind of very unique in that way because even his brother, who helps out a lot, does not think the same way that he does. My husband's just let's figure it out as we go. Like, don't tell them like what you can't do. Say yes and figure it out and tell them what you can do or whatever. Always spin it. And I'm just like, I no, I want all my ducks in a row. I want it to be ready to go before I start, like most people. And he's like, no, you can't do that in business. You just have to start. So one of my fears actually has been that I would go viral before I was ready for that, and then have a really expensive mistake there was something I didn't know that I didn't know,
Yeah.
tax wise or supply wise, like, oh my gosh, I have 100 orders of these. Let's go buy a massive supply of swivel clasps and then they're junk. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that has always been a fear of mine. So like, I feel like people who have joined my Facebook group or followed me on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, it's been a very slow growth, but it's also been a very organic growth. I feel like
Yeah.
people who are there wanted to be there. They didn't join or like because someone was running a giveaway or a promotion or forced to. Like truly, people in my Facebook group want to be there or on Instagram who interact with me. They're not trolls for the most part because nothing has gone crazy viral. And now I've
Right.
got all these awful people who don't know me or my business or anything about it. So I've been very thankful for that slow but steady growth. But at the same time, sometimes it feels, painfully slow.
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was active on TikTok, I would post my reels, and quite a few of my reels would get quite a few views. And
Hmm.
um, I don't consider anything viral unless we're hitting in the millions.
Hmm.
And I didn't get that. I got 500,000 at some point.
Hmm.
But my husband was telling Alex, he was saying, yeah, like the idea of going viral and expanding your business that far seems really great.
Hmm.
But once you reach outside your community, you
Mm-hmm.
are reaching people that you don't want to reach. And once you
Right?
bring them in, that changes things. That
Does.
starts to change the conversation. And then the people that do want to be there get their opinion changed. And so like there's a lot of things that transition once something like that happens. And so I agree. And even when I would have those videos that had quite a few views, and then people would ask, I just want to buy, I just want to buy. I never changed anything because I was like, the more I do this and the more those people interact with me and the more that they, that just accelerates that to a point to where I'm not trying to do that. I'm okay with a smaller, more intimate
Mm-hmm.
community that I know is intentionally there. They're making the choice to be there. They want to engage and just a more authentic
Exactly.
community. And so
Yes.
it's always been a huge thing of mine. And so I'm okay staying small. I'm okay selling less if it means that I have a better kind of relationship with my customers
Mm-hmm.
in that way. So I totally get
Agreed.
that.
I completely agree.
Um,
Fame, fortune, that has never, ever been a motivation for me. I've
yeah.
never, ever wanted to be a celebrity or rich. Like money doesn't motivate me. I don't want to worry about it. Like
Hmm.
I want to have enough that we could do what we want and cover our needs, but it's never been something like I will do anything to make X amount of dollars or to get anything.
Hmm.
Never, I've never
Yeah.
been that person. So truly a business like this, like you've got to ask yourself, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Is it because you think it's a windfall that suddenly the money just rolls in and for no work? That's not
Hmm.
true, as you can say. Like, yes, it's a digital product, and yes, I can sell a pattern at 2 a.m. and not do anything,
Hmm.
but I'm answering, customer service. I still have to post content
Hmm.
everywhere so people know about the product. Like there is still work to
Yeah.
be done. So it's not just like easy money, which I think a lot of people think. I just want that windfall. Let me just release a pattern and quickly move on to the next. That's never what it's been about for me.
Hmm.
What's important is that it's reproducible. If I release a pattern and yours is amazing because you're an amazing bag maker, but hers looks awful because the instructions are awful, like I get no joy from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If she's a beginner sewist and usually her stuff's kind of not so great, but then she makes my pattern, and it's like, you made that? Like that's the that's the best for me. That's
Right.
truly what it is about. The teaching aspect, the community, um, just getting paid for it's a bonus, but that's not the goal,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I've gotten so much more out of this business than, a paycheck. Like
Yeah.
I've met so many cool people. Like some of my closest friends have been online. Some I've
Hmm.
never even met, and
Yeah.
I think that's amazing about this community.
Absolutely. All of
Yeah.
my best friends I met through sewing.
Yeah.
So it really is nice to have that. And I agree. I mentioned this in a couple episodes, but there was a quote by somebody, Jesse Wells, I believe his name is, but essentially talks about like it's okay to be comfortable making a certain amount, right? So, like, again, you were saying fame, fortune's not really why you're doing this. And I agree. Like, do I want to expand my reach so that more people can sew and more people can learn about this and like I can see more of the happy customers? That is what I want growth for. I want
Yes.
growth because I want to see more people join in this fun thing that I'm doing.
Yes.
Yes, I need to have a paycheck. Like I have to
Yeah. It's
pay.
work and it's
Yeah,
taking time from other things that would bring money in. Yes.
right. But like I have to, there's like a certain amount that I have to make to be able to maintain my business. So there
Hmm.
is a money motivation in that sense of like I can't just
Agreed.
not do anything. But at the same time, like I am okay making this certain amount and I don't feel like I need to push more than that because I'm comfortable making that much money. Like
Hmm.
it's okay to be comfortable in that. Like you don't always have to expand if you can maintain where you are and you're in that comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that I am now at the point where I'm trying to maintain that comfort level. You know, the economy and everything is making things a lot harder to do that. But that's kind of my only like goal now. Is like I want to maintain and I want
Mm-hmm.
so that I can be comfortable, but also continue to give this stuff to people so that we can enjoy in this together. So
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd like to talk a little bit about your designing process, if that's okay, if you're
Sure.
okay sharing that.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated. I really enjoyed hearing the other designers and how their process works because I'm like, really?
It's
Or like, yes, exactly. You have to do it like that. And then hear somebody else do it different. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
for each one of us, it works. Like we
yes,
all have our own preferences and ways of
yes.
doing things, and so I agree. I totally love that.
Mm-mm.
I always feel I mentioned this to you the other day, and my Patreon members know about it, but I always feel a little bad when I'm responding because I feel like there's the redundancy, like you guys hear this episode to episode. But I love talking shop. I love sharing and the back and forth of this. It's always my favorite part of
Same.
every
I know.
episode with the designers.
And I'm an open book. So I feel like most people know that they could ask me whatever and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get an answer out of me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really, nothing's off limits. If you want to talk about it, we talk about it.
That's fair.
Ah.
Okay, so Carrie has a listener question that's essentially the start of the designing process questions, which is
Mm.
where do you get your inspiration from? And I'm going to read her question, which normally is saved for the press pass, but I think that she phrased it well. She asks, how does her pattern inspiration happen? Like, do they just come to her, or does she think, man, I could use an awesome crossbody to put my water bottle in for this hike, and then dig in that way?
Yes, that's exactly it. Well, the water bottle one, someone had asked in the bag making group, and I was just like, what? Like, I was not a water drinker, only because I have a water bottle now that I like to carry that I bring it with me. But prior to that, no, I didn't drink water. So I had asked Nikki, actually, I was like, do you think people would really want a pattern for this? Like, would it even be worth my time to design something like this? She goes, yeah, actually, I get asked because of Disney and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, here we go, you know. So that's how that came about. But
Yeah.
usually, yes, it comes from a need, either a personal need, like I just can't find what it is I'm looking for, so I'm going to do it myself.
Hmm.
It's also just the challenge of figuring something out. But
Yeah.
interestingly enough, when I was seeing all these like designer bag patterns being released, um, I didn't actually recognize a lot of them because I don't check out bags. I see
Yeah.
what people are carrying and how they carry their bags and the style of their bags, but I don't look like in department stores. Like I don't really shop in person anymore. I don't look at high-end designer bags to think like, oh, I should make that. So mine have always come from a need. Either someone suggests it because they can't find it, and I think, oh, other people would probably like that too, and then I'll do it. But it's not usually because I've seen a bag and want to recreate it. Not usually. It's unless someone's like, please make this. Okay.
Did your kids ever watch the movie Robots?
Robots? I don't
It
know.
was from probably the early-ish 2000s animated movie.
I don't
Anyway,
think so.
I have always reflected back on this as someone, as a designer, but also as a maker. See a need, fill a need is like a
Yeah.
big driving force through that movie. And I feel
Yeah.
like that very much applies
Yes.
to your thought process there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you get your inspiration. Also, I also don't tend to look through high-end bags. I will when I'm returning something to Kohl's for Amazon. I'll walk
Hmm.
through the bag section.
Yeah.
That's the
Sometimes I'm
extent.
kind of, yeah, I'm interested to see what's trending. Yes.
Hmm. Um,
But not typically.
yeah, no.
If I
Or
happen to
like,
be near something, maybe.
right. If I am like lacking inspiration, I will start looking up
Hmm.
through designer's bag and just like looking for trends, seeing what's
Yes.
popular, trying to find like what I could use as inspiration to fill a hole in our little pattern
Hmm.
community as well. So I totally get that. Um,
Yes.
but when you finally get your design inspiration, what's your next step?
So then I have a notebook that has spanned probably the last 10 years of ideas, and I'll jot down what I want it to look like. And then I'll sit there and think of how it should come together. And then I'll roughly write out, like, I would need to do this first, I would need to do that. And then I would measure what I'm fitting or how roughly how big I want. And then just kind of picture it coming together in my head first. And that's one reason why I don't typically use other people's patterns, or because I can't follow their design process because I'm already looking at that bag, making it in my head. So the minute it deviates in any way, I'm just like, wait, what? And then I'm lost because I got my picture so clear in my head that I can't follow that. So and then I see the supply list and the material list, and I was like, ugh, I don't want to do all that. I just kind of pull stuff as I need it, so it doesn't seem like I'm using as much as my own design. But yeah, I have to visualize it. I have to be able to see it coming together. Like I have a rough plan, and then I will pull out junk material to check fit for gussets. I am not a math person. I can't math to save my life. Mine is a guess and check. That's how I do it.
I'm
Oh,
very
good.
intuitive in that way.
That makes you feel so much better.
I don't calculate gussets.
Oh, good.
Like in that
Because
way.
I'm like, I know there's math and I know there's an easier way. Like I'm making it harder for myself, but I don't know how to do it. So everything's a guess and check. I eyeball. I am pretty good at gauging size of something. Really good at that. But yeah, I'll just do like, I love waterproof canvas because I'm not adding interfacing and there's no stretch. So that will give me a good rough muslin type start to figure out stuff. But truly, once I'm pretty confident in my brain of the steps that I'm going to do, I'll cut out the good stuff because if this works out, I want it to be usable. I don't want to waste all that time and energy and not have something that I could gift or use myself. And because I am using the good stuff, I'm more invested that I'll think twice, cut once, and I will just make sure this is what I want to do or not go too far ahead where I can't easily backtrack. And usually the first one is good. It's when I start to try and tweak stuff or something, then I'm like, that didn't work. And that's what frustrates me. But yeah, usually the first one's a good one. If I'm pretty confident, I can see it in my head.
And so do you design the pattern pieces on software first, or do you do them on paper first?
Paper.
To add to that question, do you still outsource your digital pieces? Or do you do that yourself? Okay. Okay. So he makes the digital pieces as well.
So he said he dabbled in Illustrator with his other jobs. So after the first one, my next one was Maryland. And for the most part, Maryland was pretty much rectangles minus that flap. He's like, I could probably figure it out. Like, will it take me longer than this other person? Yeah. I'll just kind of learn as I go. But not a whole lot of pieces and they're mainly rectangles. I'll give it a go. And so he did it. And then once he learned each thing, he was able to kind of build upon, and he's much faster at it now. But I didn't want to learn Illustrator. I was like, dude, I could spend my whole day doing that and not moving forward on this. Like, that's not a good use of my time. So when he's casually mentioned he could probably do it, I'm like, good, they're yours. Here you go. Bye. Let me know when they're done. But those pattern pieces, he does not want until I'm set on that design because then to go back in and tweak them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. My husband's the same way. If I have him make the 3D printed templates, he's like, they need to be done because I don't want to keep tweaking them like you're tweaking them. And I was like, that's totally
and then you'd feel bad, right? Like I would feel bad. I'm like, by the way, can we?
Yeah.
And I still feel bad when sometimes we have to do that after testing, but for the most part, they are ready to go by the time I hand them over. But I have like brown paper, roll of paper that I'll draw and measure and cut and tweak that. And then I'm like, yep. So then I'll redo them and make a set of copies so that he could take them like when he's on a trip, and then he'll put them in, work on it during his downtime. But yeah, he does.
So he does all of it on Illustrator. Like he put your logo on there. He puts the cutting and everything. You don't touch Illustrator.
No.
Oh my gosh. So what do you write your patterns in? What
like,
program?
What do you do, Lindsay? Like if everybody does everything for you. I do that.
Oh, I just mean like, what do you do? What program do you use when you type up your instructions and things like that?
Word.
Oh,
I
that's it.
use
You
the
use
word.
Microsoft Word? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Shall I show
I
you the
don't,
way of InDesign, please? It's so much better.
I'm sure. I am sure there are so many amazing things. I know what I know, and I know a lot about a very little amount of certain things, but I only pull out my computer to type up these dang instructions. I don't use it ever. 99% of what I do is from my phone, creating everything from my phone.
Wow.
My laptop's useless. I don't
Oh
like it.
my gosh. I have a laptop, an iPad, and a PC, and I try to use everything but my phone
Yeah. No, my husband's the
whenever
same
I
way.
can.
He's got his computer everywhere, and he's like, "Oh, I can't do this on my phone. Like, I have to wait for my laptop." I'm like, "No, you just do this." He's like, "Oh," but yeah, his comfort is the computer, does everything on there. I can't.
Okay, so tell me about, well, you write up your instructions. The last two designers, they had a different kind of process than I do
Hmm.
as far as when they type up their instructions and all that stuff. So for you, do you do it closer to me where you're recalling from memory, typing up what you do, and then you guys photograph according to
No,
that?
um, I've done it both ways where I've written out the instructions because I've just made one and I'll just quickly write it out. And then the next one, I'll do process photos and then just add the photos. But personally, I do prefer to make one and do process photos and have all those pictures on my phone. And then as I'm typing it up, I just pull up the image and then like, oh yeah, I
Hmm.
would have forgotten to mention that if I didn't have the picture to remind me. So I only start the process photos once I've made one through with zero tweaks, and it was as I said, and my measurements were spot on. But if I was like, we'll figure it out once I get there, there's no way I'm starting process photos because the last thing I want to do is make a
Re
whole nother one,
Yeah.
do all the other things because I have to do it identical because
Hmm.
it's not an Illustrator design where I'm just, oh, I'll just tweak that or pull that one out and put a new one in. I can't do that.
Mm. Do
Oh,
you ever
I've had
forget
some
to take a
nightmare stories.
photo in your process? Like to where you
Mm-mm.
end up having to do that?
No, because I pretty much do a step, take a picture, do a
Yeah.
step, take a picture. Like some photos I never use. I'm like, that's just redundant. Some I'll take, I'll write a sentence and I'll have four photos to go below it. Because
Hmm.
you say yours is 80 because it's more mobile device friendly. Mine, in my mind, I want it to be printer friendly. So I
Hmm.
try to put smaller pictures with each step
Yeah.
versus giant pictures
Yeah.
and going over lots of pages.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the process photos are what help me in the writing of the steps because I sometimes I'd have been like, oh, yep, I would have forgotten that.
Yeah. There are times where like so I do some supercomputer stuff sometimes where
I
in
believe
the
it.
past I have remote desktopped to my PC downstairs from a laptop upstairs in the sewing room.
Hmm.
So I can add in picture frames and instruction. Like I can insert a note that says, okay, I need to insert two
Hmm.
frames here because it's easier to do it from my PC with the nice big wide monitor and it's made for that stuff. And so like I have to do, sometimes I will forget to type up something like, oh, I should maybe specify this or whatever. And so I can insert it later. Um, the fear of forgetting to take a picture because I can so quickly go on autopilot while I
Hmm.
am sewing
Hmm.
that I need forced stops. So for
Okay.
me, my instructions and my picture frames are my forced stop. I do that step and then I read my next step and then I go down
So
or
you write it first.
absolutely all from memory, yeah.
Really?
And then as I'm writing it, I will think in my mind how I want to show this step. And so then I put like an empty picture frame with just a box and um, I'll just put them there and how I want them oriented. So I essentially, and then when I photograph, all I do is edit and drop, edit and drop, edit and drop
Hmm.
into the little picture frames.
Nice.
I have done it where I use the laptop, but recently I've been printing out the sections and that feels better for me because it's like, okay, this section done, put it away. And I just use a red pen and I kind of mark and edit as I go.
Hmm.
But I'm very like, obsessive tendencies come into play real
No.
hard in this process for me.
Shannon, you're lying.
Shocked. Everyone is shocked. We know it.
Yeah.
Um, but I honestly, it's my favorite part of the process is typing up the instructions and
Yeah.
photographing it. Yeah, that's
No, I read that stuff. I don't mind the process photos, honestly, because I'm sewing and I'm making,
Mhm.
but sitting down and starting to type them up, I'm just like,
Mhm.
oh,
It normally takes me at least at the very minimum a few days, if not a whole week to do it.
it does.
Because
And I've never timed it,
no.
but no, but sometimes I'll be like, I know Mav went to the sitter, the boys are at school, and Aaron's on a trip, and I'll, eat my breakfast, sit down and typing, and then it's like, the boys will be home soon. So like I know that it takes
Mhm.
hours upon hours, and sometimes I'm doing that 2 or 3 days in a row. So I
Yeah.
know that it takes a long time, but I've just never sat there and could tell you an exact
Mhm.
time frame.
So I know we had talked about this before. You don't necessarily have a set number of bags you like to make before you feel like the pattern is done. But have you had kind of like an average amount that you have found yourself making with every design?
I would say there's probably no less than 5.
Okay.
If the first idea and run through is successful, then I might try it out in a few different types of materials. If in a certain design I'm looking at, I'm like, gosh, this really only works with vinyl cork or leather, or this really would just be so perfect with waterproof canvas and nothing else. Like, I don't want to write for interfacing. People are going to just make it harder than it has to be. But knowing that the quilt cotton question will come up, then I'll have to make some with some interfacing suggestions, even though
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. Especially
Yeah.
because interfacing and stabilizers constantly changing. Like you go back
Yeah.
to my first few patterns and I was like, well, I would have never used that. I would prefer this now.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's a jumping off point. But if you know a stabilizer interfacing you like best, use that. And I'll say
Yeah.
that to my testers too. I'm like, my only criteria is that you make it as written. Please don't deviate in any way. And you can use alternative materials and interfacings if you think it'll work and then report back. But don't deviate from what the written instructions and construction is. But interfacing and materials, I'll allow them to kind of have wiggle room on that. And then
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they'll give us feedback like, oh, I really liked this, or hey, note, this does not work. I'm like, good, because I'll include that in the pattern from
Right.
my
Yeah.
testers. Do not use this or be note of this and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole stabilizer thing, that's a fair thing. I have always kind of used the same, other than changing from like the water or the woven interfacing that I would just kind of buy from various shops. I did flip over to the Wawak for that, and then the same with the Decaville Light. I just use their
Like
Profuse
their
Stiff.
Profuse stuff, or
Yeah, their
yeah.
Profuse Flex and Stiff.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all that I use for those two, but everything else I use Pellon, just because for me, I just feel like it's so important to choose widely available things that
Yeah,
will
same.
still be around in 10 years if my
Mm-hmm.
pattern still exists.
Yep,
Although it does stink because there are some better options out there
I
from
know.
small businesses,
There
but
really is.
I
But then
just,
they call it, Slim Fix, and you're like, well, what the heck is that? Like, I don't.
right,
Is it like Decoville Light? Is it like,
right.
what is it? So that's the limitation, because there are some small shops that carry stuff that I love, and I wish
Mm-hmm.
everybody would carry it, but they call it to align with their brand, and I understand that, but it doesn't
Yeah.
help their customers and it doesn't help my customers
But
one bit.
also, like, they're not always in stock. And so if somebody buys
Yes.
my pattern, they're like, okay, I got to go buy these products. I got to go to this one website, the only
Yep.
website in the world with this one product, and it's out
Uh-huh.
of stock without an estimated in stock date. That's not okay. But
Yeah, I won't do that. I will not write
exactly.
a whole pattern around one piece of hardware either that
So
only one supplier has. I'm
yes,
not going to
yes
do it.
and no. Like I have had, like I feel like anything outside of rectangle rings, D rings, snap hooks, tri-glides, things like that. That is, you're starting to enter into like what I would call specialty hardware. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's like some limitations for that, like a turn lock. It's still technically to me specialty hardware, but they are readily available.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like I try to stick in the readily available category.
Or easy substitutions.
Yeah. Sometimes though, it just is what it is. But I agree. I also try to shy away from that whenever I can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, but also like when it comes to interfacing and stabilizers, it's a very preferential thing. Like you may not care that your bag isn't as super structured as somebody else may care that they want
Mm-hmm.
that.
And I think
Um,
some bags look good, super structured, but also slouchy. Like it's just a different look or a vibe you're going for that. I think that that's okay. So to just say you have to have it this way. And that's why I always allow people to share their hacks in my group because
mhm.
one, I feel like a pattern is a blueprint to make your own. Like why else are we sewing? So if someone wants to share how they modified my pattern, I have zero issue with that. Great, but just be prepared. People are going to want a tutorial or instructions
Yeah.
because that's what they want.
Yeah.
But I don't mind them sharing that. And if suddenly, what I just could only picture one way and somebody used a completely different stabilizer and it looks different, I'm like, that looks really cool. Or I'm like,
Mhm.
there's a reason why I wrote it.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't matter how much you tell people, like, I tried it. I didn't really think that it was the best outcome. There are people who are like, I hear you, but no.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's what it is.
it is what it is, and
You
that's the
got your
thing of
choice.
right, and that's the thing about designing though is that like you're designing for every possible sort of mind
Yep.
to then make it. It's not just somebody who wants to skip out on, let's say, woven interfacing with quilt and cotton. They want to use waterproof canvas. Well, some of us, myself included, I only use that to test it. I don't, if and when I can, I will always use a woven lining. But that's my preference. I don't care about the extra work. For me, that's how my brain works. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
writing a pattern, you have to try and sometimes I accommodate that, and other times I'm just like, no, I'm writing this for the design. I just need to learn how to explain it to other people so that I
Mm-hmm.
can get them to justify doing
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, right? If you're someone who hates woven interfacing, I'm going to express to you in the pattern that, like, I get it,
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just listen to me,
Yeah,
you know?
truly. Yeah.
Uh,
And if you're a good designer, like I would trust you on that. Shannon said not to use this, even though it would be perfect. I'm going to find something else unless I happen to know more about that type of material. And maybe you're
mhm,
not, I don't ever see you use it. And I'm like, she could be wrong about this. I'll try it. But
right, right.
truly, if they're a good designer, you know that their patterns are tested well and that they've made a few, like you could pretty much trust that they've either tried it and it didn't work or, you know,
Right.
she's giving you fair warning for a reason.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a perspective which I have brought up in the show before of like when I release a pattern, at that point I am the expert, right? I wrote it
Mm-hmm.
as the
Mm-hmm.
expert because nobody else has ever sewn as many as I have of this one
True.
pattern at this moment in time. So
Yep.
the first time you open it, if your immediate thought is to completely disregard what the expert in that one product is, it's like, well,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I could never convince you. And so with that kind of thought process, it's been a lot easier to kind of let that go. Like you do what you want to do. I told
Mm-hmm.
you what I thought would work best. It is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely is. I do find it interesting that you let your testers use different stabilizers and stuff because by the point that I give it to my testers, I'm like,
Tested them all.
I've already done it. So I'm like, mm-mm. Or I know what to expect if somebody's going to use waterproof canvas versus this versus that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when it gets to testers,
Yep.
what's the testing process look like for you?
So funny because I saw your interview with Rayvon and she said she gives them 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, too long
Mm-hmm.
because they will squeak it in at the 4 week mark. Like it does not matter. If I give them 7 days, I don't. I shoot for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Ideally, I'll
Same.
give them 2 weeks. So like,
Mine's like 10 to 14 days, like
yeah.
tops.
Yes, 10 sounded bad, but you're right. 10 to 14 days is me, and it usually involves 2 weekends in that
I
time
had the
span.
same exact thing.
Yes. So I feel like what I had a general pool of testers, and then I would post like, hey, here's this bag. And plus, it's not a secret on social media. I'm sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are knowing like, hey, when will it be ready for testing? So then I'll say, okay, it's done. who can test it within this time frame and have one made and all that other stuff. And then they're like, me, and then I kind of move them over to a different group. So they know beforehand the supply list because I'll post that. They know the bag they're making because I've posted that, and they know the time frame. So to me, I've given them all that they need to know. If it's a huge, like my duffel bag, it takes a lot of material and crap ton of zippers that you're going to never use a duffel bag. I've had someone say, it's a cool design, but I would never use it, and I don't really want to waste my materials. Okay, I understand. I totally get it. But you don't get to say, yes, I want to make it, and then not follow through on that. Like, that is just the worst for me. Like, I can take the feedback, like, I think you need to redo this or whatever. Like, I can handle that. But you saying I will commit to this and then life happens, which I get. If you didn't reach out to me to explain that you're not going to reach the deadline, that really burnt. It makes me so mad.
That's why
because they have the information, it wasn't like, okay, here's a mystery pattern with a mystery supply list and you got to make it. Oh, I didn't realize this is beyond my skill set or took too much. Like, I understand. Plus, if I know if it's a weird hardware, like my Rick Roll Top had the sternum clasp, I knew that was weird and not readily available. I'll post that beforehand. Hey, I'm working on this pattern. If you think you're going to be wanting to test it, here's a link that you could get these, or I'm asking, Georgia Girl Stitches to carry them in stock or whatever so that they're ready to go. I'll give them that heads up. So really, supplies shouldn't be a holdup and everything by the time testing starts. So I feel I also test differently. I only have 2 criteria for my testers, and that is to make the bag as written by the time frame, and post a picture that it's done. Like, show me that you did it and give me feedback. But I don't expect them to sell it for me, so I don't expect them to post it in X amount of groups on this day with a spiel at all. If they want to post it because they loved it, awesome, that's helpful for me. I've went to affiliate links, so I'll give my testers an affiliate, because if your bag prompted someone to make it and none of mine did, you should get a cut of it. You should get a reward for that. So I don't have that requirement. If you want your photos listed on my website and a shout out on my video with a photo, like, to me, I'm also helping you in that way. Give me nice photos, but it's not a requirement. So that's why I feel like for the cost of a pattern, getting early access to it, and being part of that decision-making process in a small community with the designer, I feel like that does have value. And I'm not asking you to do anything that's like, nope, I won't do this for $100 or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I expected you to sell my pattern, if I expected professional modeled photos, and I expected you to do these canned spiels in all the groups, then I feel like that's worth more than just a free pattern.
Yeah.
And it should reflect that, whether payment or whatever.
Some form of compensation.
Agreed. Because I don't sell hardware, so it's not like I can say, oh, here's a gift card to my
That's exactly
shop.
it for me. Like, I don't have anything else to give them. I only have a few patterns. So most of them own all of the patterns as it is. Like, well, what can I give you outside of money? Essentially, like, I don't have anything else to give you.
Yes.
So no, that's fair. I considered going the affiliate link route, but I just decided, like, I don't. For me, it was easier to just have this be the transaction, whether, but they also have to agree to those terms and conditions too. Like, you don't get to be on the test team if you can't do what you said you were going to do, and also expect to be paid for it. But the whole, like, coming in at the last minute, it is literally every test. And that I have the same thought process as you. That's why I don't give them that much longer, because it doesn't matter how much time I give them. They always come in at the last minute. And so I love all of my testers. They know how I feel about this. They know every time they test for me, they have a short deadline and they have to make 2. They don't just have to make 1. The big pattern, when that comes out, I might extend the time frame a little bit. I might give them maybe 3 weekends. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Now, I totally agree. And it is frustrating when people don't follow through. One thing that Alex kind of drilled into me when I first started this, and essentially once I started paying my testers, was that none of your testers will care as much as you do about
Hmm.
your pattern. And so
Absolutely
I
right.
jump into that testing process knowing that fact. But I always ask them, like, if something comes up, something always comes up
Of
every
course.
test for at least one tester.
Yes.
And so you're guaranteed like 10 to 20% of your test team is not going to follow through as you ask them to. But
Hmm.
I just say, like, I'm not gonna be mad. Like, it's okay. Just communicate so I can set my
Yes.
expectations. Because right now,
Yes.
my expectation is that you're coming in, you're doing what you agreed to do. But
100%. And I
right,
don't think there's anything wrong with that either, because
no,
I've had people say, gosh, I was planning on working on this weekend, but unfortunately, a kid's sick. Cool, because you don't owe me anything.
right,
But the fact that you said you would does mean something to me. So reach out to me. Okay, that's cool. I've already gotten, 4 people to post already, so I'm breathing a little bit easier. We're good. If I need to bring somebody else in, it's fine. But those people who come in and just squeak it in last minute and just say, oh, nothing to add.
yeah,
I feel taken advantage of. And it may sound silly to somebody else that it's only, a $10 pattern that they're ripping you off. But I do. I feel used and I don't want to feel used,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I want people that are there and they care. Like, as I don't expect you to care as much as me, but if you're here and you want to be a part of the team, then
Hmm.
you coming in at the last second and just sharing pictures and of like and, like mediocre pictures at that sometimes, and being like, everything looked great,
To
nothing
add.
I didn't find. Meanwhile, there is a list over here with hundreds of things that I have to fix. But
Yep.
okay, I also get that like not everyone's brain works the same way. They don't see those things. They're skipping. They read the first 3 words and then skip to the last 3 words of the sentence, and they fill in the
Hmm.
blank in their mind.
Yes.
So I do give people a lot of grace, and I can't say how thankful I am for those testers that do care
A
a
hundred
lot,
percent.
because
Yes.
that is invaluable to me.
And truly the success of our pattern is how clear it is,
Mhm.
because if your testers didn't enjoy making it, other people aren't going to enjoy making it. But if the testers loved it, then you don't necessarily have to even ask them to post about it. They loved it. They want to share it. They
Right.
do. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want you to just make it just because you want early access to
Right.
it
It's not a
or jump.
strike. It's a test.
And yeah, I have really strong feelings since I've had a couple of testing experiences, especially like in recent years. That's been really hard on me because um, I know they don't care about it as much as I do. I know that. But also feel like I don't ask much of them.
Mhm.
And there are a few testers that are literally worth their weight in gold
Yeah.
because they're making it promptly and they catch stuff and they have those honest conversations with me. I have testers who are basically like, this is amazing. You're amazing. Oh, thank you for having me. And I was just like,
Right.
that's not helpful to me. Like,
Right.
if
Right.
I have to recant and say, sorry, a pattern piece is missing, this is wrong, and re-roll that out after a launch, then the testing has failed. Like, and that's
Yeah.
not, I don't want, like, testing is so important.
Yeah.
It's
It
so
is
important.
so important. And like I like to think that like nothing is 100% perfect. Every pattern I have, there has
Hmm.
to be at least one if minor detail. But, I have testers, so I pay for testers. I spend however long prepping it to get to the point before it even
Hmm.
gets to testers. I pay for proofer. So
Yep.
Ashley, who is a Patreon subscriber. Thank you, Ash. She is amazing. So she does proofing for me. She does the
Hmm.
SVG stuff and things like that, which like I put so much investing into it
Hmm.
so that when people get it, it's as
It's ready
perfect
to
as
go.
it can be, like with human error calculated in
Yes.
there. And
Yes.
but if there's something that's glaring, that's missing, then yes, that is a bit of a
Uh-huh.
failure on the testing side of things. But
Yep. And I
ultimately,
feel like you're in the same boat as me because there are quite a few things that I do hire out and pay for.
hmm,
I'm already a couple $100 in the hole before this pattern is
yeah,
even launched. Like,
yeah,
it's not free for
No,
me to
yeah,
launch this. It's
yeah.
not like, okay, now let's let the money roll in. I have to recoup quite a bit up front.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even counting my time I put into it. It's
Right,
literally what I have paid other people just to get this pattern ready to go.
right, right.
So there's a
But
lot. There is a
yeah,
lot that goes into it. And it's not as easy as people just assume it
yeah.
is.
Before every pattern release, without my labor calculated, I tend to spend about close to 2 grand on paying testers and ash before it even gets out. Um,
Right?
and so that's a lot of money to invest in a product that I've been working on for months without earning a dime on, and then I
Uh-huh.
have to put it out there. So I tend to know, like, I can tend to calculate the weeks that I worked on it. And so I tend to know how many patterns I have to sell before I break
Mm-hmm.
even.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, that's going to take me a couple months, if not longer. I still haven't, or I think I just hit that number for the Adina. So
Yeah.
now I'm making a profit on it. And that is tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough
Another
thing.
reason why you can't just do this simply because you think it makes a ton of money and it's the money grab that we're after.
Right.
Like
But
it's not
also,
the case.
like, it is what you put into it. You know, if you're willing to invest in it, you're willing to hire things out, you're willing to invest in your testing team, you're willing to put that time and effort in, then you will get paid for that. But it's not going to be an instant cash grab or anything like that. It's going to be something that builds over time. But
Mm-hmm.
also, like, the reason why I also don't force promotion on my testers, you know, they all of them can opt out of promotion if they want. And that doesn't reflect their payment whatsoever. The payment's
Mm-hmm.
for the testing, but customers are the ones that sell more of my patterns than my testers do, because
Mm-hmm.
when they see somebody not affiliated with me, or when other people see someone not affiliated with me or you, and they see them successfully sewing it and talking about it and things like that, that is going to
Yes.
sell somebody, because they're like, hey, they're like me, then that means I
Mm-hmm.
can do it. And so
Yep.
I think that that's a big focus, that, you know, that's why we're sewing it to be more accessible, or we're designing it to be more accessible by everyone, because
Mm-hmm.
then it is. You know, you have to think about it. It's not just always designing a pouch, writing up the instructions, taking the pictures, plopping it all together and putting it out there. There's a lot more to it than that. Not to say it's not always the most difficult thing in the world, but you
No,
know,
but expectations are keep getting higher and higher
yes.
and
Yeah.
higher. And that's why it is so expensive now to release a pattern. Because my first one, the Dana, it was just the pattern and printable pattern pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I did a video for that was because a YouTuber did a video. You've never made the Dana, have you?
I think I've made it once.
Okay, well, the way that it's closed is my favorite part. Like that's the best part of it. And this girl did a video on it where she was just folding and tucking the top edge and clipping and sewing it. And I don't usually watch other people's YouTube videos of mine. I don't watch YouTube usually at all
Mm-hmm.
unless I need to know something specific. So in the beginning because I was curious. I wanted to see what their thoughts were and everything. And when I saw her do that, I panicked. I'm like, this can't be the only resource out
Yeah,
there that she's doing
exactly.
it wrong. And so I
Mm-hmm.
messaged her. I'm like, you did it wrong. Like, why did you do that? And she's like, oh, I was just so excited. I just kind of jumped right in. I was like, but it's wrong. So
And
I
it's a
called my sister.
tutorial.
Yes, I called my sister. I'm like, Steph, you need to get your butt over here tomorrow. We're going to do a quick down and dirty tutorial so that there's something else besides this and that people can go to my video. So my very first videos were super sped up, very fast, very not very specific because they were supposed to supplement and just give you a quick reference of the
Mm-hmm.
written instructions, never replace it. Well, come to find out after years of doing this that some people don't understand the written word and pictures. They have to see somebody doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So they buy the pattern, but they don't ever read it. They don't ever look at the pictures. They go straight to the video.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that's tough because I don't give measurements and landmarks in a video, but it's just supposed to supplement, not
Right.
replace, but here people are doing it to replace it. So that's what prompted me to do videos. That is the only reason. It's not because I want to be in front of the camera. I
Mm-mm.
don't want to do videos. Like if
Yeah.
I would launch things so much faster if I didn't have to do videos.
Yeah.
I have to, pay my sister for her time. Like I have to pay a sitter. I have to dedicate hours of that day. Like it's so much work.
How long does it
But
normally take you to film a tutorial for one of your patterns?
um usually my sister would come over at like 9 a.m. and then we're trying to get it done by like 1 or 2 when I would had to go pick up my youngest at the sitter. Sometimes we're pausing briefly to just scarf down lunch. Sometimes it would take 4 hours. But like as the patterns have become a little bit more involved or bigger, like the Stefan Sport Duffel, I flew her here to do that and we did it over 2 days because it was just,
Yeah.
and that's me cutting everything, prepping everything, having it all ready to go
Mm-hmm.
before she even gets there. But
Mm-hmm.
the actual sewing and filming, we needed 2 days to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. It takes me a lot longer, but I have a lot of I stumble over my words a lot when I'm
Mm,
recording. So I
same.
have like a lot of retakes I have to do as far as like talking. So
You know.
and I guess the more I do it, the more frustrating it gets. So then it's like, okay, well, I've been trying to
And
say
these
this one step for 30 minutes.
I know. And I told Steph, like, you need to be listening to what I'm saying, that it makes sense, and that I'm saying right when I mean right, not left when it was the right, like stuff like that, and call me out on it because I can't watch, like, I get so nervous when I have to watch all the clips back to edit them down and whatever and splice out all the ums and likes
Mm-hmm.
and pauses,
Mm-hmm.
and then find out I said something completely wrong. I called the pattern piece wrong or whatever, and she didn't tell me. And so now I'm just like, really?
Yeah. Sometimes you
Oh,
just have to put the little, like, the text on the screen
I
with the
know. But
asterisks and just call
again,
it a
this is
day.
me doing everything from my phone in
That's
iMovie.
true.
I am not tech
Oh,
savvy.
you edit the videos on your
Dude.
phone too?
hmm
Oh my gosh.
There's
I
no hope for me when it comes to
okay, I
tech.
was gonna
I only
say
do this out of necessity because I love you people, but not because I enjoy it or
yeah.
want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just want you to be successful. That's honestly the only reason
No,
I'm
that's
doing
fair.
this.
If I didn't have to do YouTube videos, I probably wouldn't. But if
Nope.
I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna jump in all the way and do it. And
Right.
that's what I do. And it's very time consuming. It's about I think I'm a little bit more efficient at it now. But
Mm.
like it has taken up to 2 weeks as far as recording and editing and things like that. For a 3 hour video. Yeah, that takes a lot. That's a lot to cut down. And
And then I have to watch it all over like 3 different times, one to edit
uh,
the individual clips,
yeah.
then to merge it all together and then edit it, and then watch it through to make sure nothing's missed. Like
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
this hour plus long video, I'm gonna have to watch 3 times. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there have
oh,
been quite a few videos that I have released where I have just watched so much of it so many times, and rarely do I watch the final edited video start to finish before I actually release it. Like I'm continuously I'm editing in every second that I need to as I go. But sometimes I will forget to delete a clip that I have trimmed out
oh,
or that I like clipped to trim out. And there have been a couple times where like on release day, I'm like, okay, I have nothing else to do. Let me watch this video because I just uploaded it to YouTube last night. Love that for me. And then I'm like, I can hear myself start to talk, and then I'll be like, and then restart the same sentence that I just said. So then I'll go
yeah,
into the YouTube editor and clip it out then, and like just
oh,
love that all the people that are seeing it on release day are catching that, and they won't see that again tomorrow when it's been edited out. But
there's
it's
been a few videos
embarrassing.
where I uploaded, and when I've sped something up from there beyond, then the words wouldn't match
Oh,
with
the
the clips. So
syncing, yeah.
the audio would be affected for the whole thing. And so, again, I'm kind of jumping through because I don't want to sit there and watch the whole thing. But I was like, no, we have to pull this back down and figure out what happened. A lot of times, I think it was an iPhone setting, like it would upload super washed out. I was like, what just happened? Like, that's
Mm,
not what my video looks like, nothing. Like, why does it look like that? And we have to troubleshoot so
yeah.
much lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like the beginning videos was like nothing to it. And it's like, I don't know.
It's because they're implementing so many AI-based editing features in every editor that's available to us now. There, you can't get away from
So
it. So
frustrating.
it's jumping to conclusions when you're like, I don't need you to do that. I just need you to do what I said. I get it. It's
It's
very
not what I wanted.
frustrating.
It's
Um,
very frustrating.
especially
Taking way
with,
longer to upload too.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to do that. There's a lot of AI features in Riverside that are available to me, and they are very stupid, so I don't
Mm,
use them. But it's really frustrating because it's very hard to avoid. Same thing with like CapCut and things like that. CapCut has gone over the top with that stuff. I do
mm.
edit my videos for my reels. I do all that on my phone, but that's the only thing I only do on my phone.
Oh.
I'm just thinking of you. Like, don't your thumbs, like, my thumbs would be cramping by that point. That's so much on your phone. I
Mm-mm.
don't know
And I
how
do
you
have
do it.
dry eye, so they're always saying like, try to minimize screen time and, put eye drops in. And do you do any of that? I'm like, no, my whole business is on my phone.
That's fair.
No.
Okay. So so back to your design process. So you get it all done. You get pattern. Your testers are all finished. Promotion. I know you have a release weekend discount that you do. Um,
Hmm.
and then from there, so what's release day look like for you? And I wanted to ask, like, what release day looked like for you for the Dana pack, and then for your last pattern. Like, how did that feel different?
So the Dana pack was literally just the one file, and it was
Mm-hmm.
probably in a zip file too, because Wix at the time when we were using Wix only allowed one file upload, and then that would expire after 30 days.
Okay.
No, that was Etsy. We started off on Etsy, and then we went on our okay, but on Etsy, that one is okay, but I had so many questions about where's my download. And I was
That
like,
still
oh,
happens.
shoot.
It never goes away.
But because it was just the one file and the one pattern piece, like my husband merged it all to make it the PDF and everything, and it was ready to go in a file. So then I uploaded it to Etsy and did all the listings and stuff, and then hit release and then started promoting it. And I'm just like sitting there nervous because
Mm-hmm.
is anybody
That's
going
a
to
lot.
buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was always exciting just because on Etsy, when I had an Etsy shop when I would sew to sell, and you'd hear that cha-ching every blue moon. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, hey, sale.
Mm-hmm.
But like to just kind of hear it come in closer together on one day, like that was nothing I'd ever experienced before. But so like I said, it had taken a while to hit 100. Couldn't tell you how long. I don't even remember. But now on release day, um, release weekend, really, I try to be very present on social media. So I'm
Yeah.
glued to my phone, which is unfortunate. My husband understands, and my kids are getting used to it. So he tries to preoccupy them because mom's busy.
Mm-hmm.
But releasing it on a Friday, usually the kids are in school so
Yeah.
that I can, especially if anything's going to happen bad, like hopefully nobody's there to distract me and I can jump to it.
Yeah.
Um, if I can, in the past, I would release it silently on Thursday. I wouldn't announce it anywhere, but some people would be like refreshing the website and they'd see it and then they'd buy it. And I'd be like, oh, you sneaky little dog there, you got it. But my hope would be that they'd download it and they'd bring it to my attention if something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I had started to do that fairly regularly. Then I think people kind of got wind that, oh, she sometimes releases it Thursday. So now we look. But again, it's usually more of a gentle launch
Yeah.
the night before, that if there's something that's going to pop up, hopefully we'll find it during that. So Friday's a little bit easier,
Mm-hmm.
nerve wise. But truthfully, the most nervous I get is when I hand it to testers, not
Yeah.
when I launch it,
Yeah.
because I will read it and read it. I've made it so many times by now, but it is such a humbling experience when those testers get that pattern and they find the silliest errors or even a big one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I could have hit publish. Like I was so confident we could publish this today and it's golden and the
Yeah.
things they find.
Yep. It's so humbling every time.
Oh,
It
every
doesn't
time.
matter how confident you are. As a matter of fact, the more confident you are, probably the more errors they're
Bigger
going to
errors.
find.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
It doesn't get any easier. So that's why when you see the first make after a launch, that's not one of your testers. Like that is the highlight of my day. I'm like, oh my gosh, babe, look,
Yeah.
look. This is the first one. Look. He's, ooh, that looks good. I'm like, God.
I get terrified. Like for me, it's the same. It's just as nerve-wracking to send it to my testers. And well, I think like putting the file up for my testers isn't bad. But seeing the first tester make is just as bad for me as seeing the first non-tester make because it like I'm like terrified of whatever that feedback is getting ready to be like, I love it, but do you love it? You know, like I've just learned that I like things differently than other people do. So it's very nerve-wracking, but it's very humbling too. But the soft release on a Thursday night is a pretty good idea. Like that way, yeah, like it probably leans into a more smoother Friday, and I never even considered that. Not that I would be ready. Like the files are typically ready and on the site, but I have them supercomputer style, hidden away so that like you can only get to it if you have the direct link to it. You can't search it or it's not recommended anywhere. So that all of my testers can go and get their final file through like with a discount code so that they can go through the transaction and then look at all the downloads, make sure everything is kosher. And by that point it's all ready to go. But I've never released it to the public early. But I might do that. I might steal that. I'm not making any promises,
now
people.
Now that the secret's out, it's like, oh.
Yeah, we'll see.
Don't make my Thursday stressful.
Hey, you put it out there, not me.
See, and I don't do it every launch. And especially since I started subscribers on Instagram, like I want them to have access to it sooner too. So now I wasn't doing that. So if I can get it to them way earlier than Thursday, then I'll still do a Thursday launch. But I didn't want to have to learn Patreon and like focus on another thing and establish tiers who gets what. Like I didn't want to do that. But the subscriber thing on Instagram is super limiting, unfortunately. It's so new that it's not available to everybody. So people think that I'm capping it or that I'm intentionally not letting them subscribe, even though they've wanted to from the beginning. So we're going to be switching to something else. There's a little app development going on, that hopefully will be soon. And I'm hoping that'll be like the new thing that people prefer to do over all these extra added apps and steps and subscriptions and
yeah, it is tough. Like I specifically haven't done that on like YouTube or Instagram just because like I don't feel like I have enough to provide people like with incentive, you know, to offer that. The Patreon for the show has been really amazing, and that is such a small group that it tends to be a little bit more intimate and it's really nice. But if it was a larger group of people that decided to sign up, I don't know if I would feel. I mean, like great, it would be great, and it's more money coming in, right? It's more support, but I don't know if I would be as comfortable doing that. But that's good. But one of the things that you do, which I find to be really smart and not something I am capable of doing, but you offer paper patterns and then you send them off to quilt shops, right? Pretty much all over the country at this point. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Because like I said, I find that very interesting, a really smart business choice.
Yeah. So originally someone had asked about it, and I knew that because I use all those color photos and a lot of them, that I was just like, oof, gosh, that sounds like it would be really expensive. And Erin of Dog Under My Desk, we used to chat. I used to test for her years ago, and she's the one that kind of encouraged me to release my own patterns, not under somebody, but to release it independently. She's like, girl, there are so many people who would be willing to help you, guide you in that direction if this is something you want to do. So she was, she kind of helped mentor me in the beginning. She's super brilliant designer, amazing instructions too. But she had said that she looked into doing paper patterns once because we're similar too. She has a lot of colored photos. And she's like, oh, it's too cost prohibitive to do. And I was like, oh, then it's probably gonna be the same for me. I'm in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Natalie of So Hungry Hippie who said, like, hey, have you considered doing paper patterns? I'm like, yeah, but it's cost prohibitive. She goes, actually, I have a guy here in Wisconsin who does mine. Very reasonable prices. Like, I can get you in contact and maybe he can give you a quote. I was like, okay, I still feel like we're going to be in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't nearly as cheap as what she got because she doesn't do full pattern pieces. She'll only include the circle, but
Okay.
everything else is a cut and measure. Um, and I don't actually own any of her patterns, so I don't know if she uses illustrations or photos, but
Okay.
I thought, well, it's still not terribly higher. I mean, we're not going to make a whole lot of profit off of paper
Yeah.
patterns, especially if we plan to wholesale them, but it's not as expensive as we thought it would be. So we went ahead, but unfortunately, when you do it through a printer, they have a minimum quantity in order to
Mm-hmm.
drive that price down. So we were having to buy, I don't remember if it was 200 or 400 per pattern to start. So I
Okay.
was like, ugh. And then we have to assemble all of those. So
Yeah.
he would print all one pattern piece and stack them and all another piece and stack them. So then I had to pay attention to that I wasn't grabbing from different, it was like so confusing in the beginning and assemble those and do this. And then to cut the costs, he would print them collated with a separate sheet in between each thing, but they not staple them. So then I had to kind of fan through, pull out the feeder, staple it, full. Oh, I hate paper
Wow.
patterns for that.
Oh my
But
gosh.
she made a good point that it would just get you in front of a new audience,
Right.
people in these shops. And she used Checker Distributor, which was another one, but they want wholesale upon wholesale. So what is that? So like they would want 50% of what my wholesale price is
Wow.
because they're a wholesaler. So like if my paper patterns are, I don't even know, what are they? $13.99, $14.99. They would want me to sell it to them for half of $7.50. So basically I'm like, no,
Right.
I can't do that. I'll never go through Checker Distributor. My margin isn't that enough for that. She's like, well, it's a great opportunity because a lot of these quilt shops don't trust buying directly from somebody who they don't know, but they do trust Checker Distributor. And I was like, sorry, like I can't do that. So
Yeah.
basically it was by word of mouth in the beginning. People would find out that I have paper patterns and then they would tell their local quilt shop. So, and I do feel like it has been good because we do wholesale it out to these small businesses to carry and
Yeah.
shop. And so we've gotten customers that way that would have never have heard of me before.
Yeah.
But they're not my favorite. And I can understand from an outsider's perspective, like, well, if I bought the paper pattern, why can't I just get the digital one? And what we had to learn really the hard way is that there are completely different costs associated with
Yeah.
each of those. Like I would love to, you bought the paper pattern here, you can have this too. But again, I'm paying for the SVGs, the projector. I'm paying for those extra files. So that's that cost associated with this. And then the paper, I'm paying to print those
Mm-hmm.
out and assemble those. There's that cost with that. So they're not interchangeable. But what we do is we'll offer them a discount if they wanted to bundle. Like if somebody ordered a paper pattern, there is a pop-up on our website that will say, would you like to bundle it with the digital and get a discount? So people do take advantage of
Yeah.
that because some people don't own a printer or they want to piece their papers together or whatever reason, but then they're like, oh, but I want the SVG files too
Yeah.
for certain steps. So I mean, I'm not upset that I did it, and I'll continue to offer it. But we did decide to bring that in-house. So we got a big printer so we could print it ourselves. And now that process is actually easier because I can print the pattern pieces kind of collated,
Yeah. So you
fold
can
those
print it in order and
versus
just.
having a stack. And sometimes his folding machine would fold it this way for a stack of them, and then the same pattern piece is stacked a different way. So my brain is recognizing that there's 5 individual patterns, and then suddenly it switches. And I was like, ah, what just happened? But it's actually just the other side of that same pattern. Like, it was just so easy to get it confused. So I couldn't do anything else while I'm doing that because I had to focus 100%
Mm-hmm.
on, so I couldn't delegate that to my kid. It was even hard to delegate to my sister. Like it was frustrating. But now that we're
Yeah.
printing it ourselves, I can kind of print on demand and I don't have to shell out all that money up
Mm-hmm.
front, sit on product and wait for it to move.
So I'm curious about how the process works. So you reach out to a quilt shop, let's say, and you're like,
I
"Hey,
don't.
no?" Do you just
No.
respond? Or like
Yes.
how do
Oh,
you make
that's
that
selling,
connection?
Shannon. I don't want to sell. Um, how did we do it in the beginning? Um, I think I initially posted about it like, hey, we have paper patterns available because there's some people who don't have printers and they were really excited. But then they would go and tell their local quilt shop.
Oh,
And so
okay.
just kind of posting about it on social media, like, hey, by the way, we have a wholesale program if you want. And then I think that's just kind of spread word of
Mm-hmm.
mouth. Um, but I don't, my small town where I used to live in Illinois, there was a quilt shop up the street. I could not go in and say, hey, I couldn't do it. My husband, he hates that about me. He's like, babe, I'm like, no, the floor must open up and swallow me for me
I
to
know.
go and say, hey, would you like to carry my product?
No,
Oh,
no, I think that's fair. I don't even like to advertise, so
mm-mm.
like I get it. Believe me. I if it's a bag that I made, I'm happy to like share it and like post about it, but I only want to do that once, and I'm just like it's going to be available at this point if you want to buy it, but I'll never post about it again at that point because I'm all done with advertising and quote unquote selling the bag at that point. So that's
I
fair.
won't even say I made it if someone's like, oh, cute bag. I'll say,
Same.
thanks.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that.
My
I can't
husband,
say it.
my husband will be like, "She made that, by the way," and I'm
Yes,
like, "Shut up."
I know. And I get beet red, start sweating. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
so embarrassed. Or
same.
my kids will do it too. And it is pretty cute
Yeah,
because when they're like, oh, my mom can make it, or
yeah.
they're around their friends, my mom will make you
Or
one.
they
I
tell
was
their
like, one, that's precious,
teachers.
but two, shh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, there was this year, my son failed to prepare for show and tell. And so he decided to show and tell my website. And I'm like, child, you can't do that. But then of course it opened the discussion to his teacher the next time we went in there and stuff. And it was like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
hmm
But also thank you, Trenton. I appreciate it.
And isn't it funny? It's like, how do you explain what it is that you do? You know, like it
Right.
was way easier to say like, oh, I'm a nurse, but
hmm
to say that
I just say
because
I
now
design handbags. That's
I
all I
say I
say.
write sewing patterns
I don't even
for,
say that
and people
because,
just look at me.
right,
They're like,
right. I was at the dentist before this, and the lady asked, "What do you do?" And I was like, "I design handbags," and that is all that I will say now,
really? But
unless
that doesn't prompt them to be like, what do you mean?
nope.
For who?
Most of the time, people are just asking to be nice, So it
Oh,
doesn't really, and I'm not. I don't. I'm socially awkward, so like I don't always continue it on, especially in that kind of conversation. Like, okay, well, let's not talk about me anymore. Like, what do
oh.
you do? But I mean, you're working here, so this is what you do. So.
And I know that if I say that, that's definitely going to prompt more questions. And
But
it's not
then
that
you
I'm
can
looking to
explain
start
it.
a discussion, but at the same time, it's like, you ask me what I do. Do I just say
I just say
I'm a
I
former
design
nurse?
handbags, and if they push it, then I'm like, well, I design them really so that other people can make them at home. And I just write little ebooks that they can follow to do that. That's
Oh.
kind of what I say because
I've never ever said that I design handbags. I say I write sewing patterns for bags and accessories.
cue the
What?
blank face.
What? What? There, and then it's like, there's money in that? I'm like, yeah, I know that you probably wouldn't think so, but after mask making in the pandemic, a lot of people are sewing now because I truly did believe there
hmm
was a time when sewing was a dying art because
hmm
this said quilt shop in my small town, I went in there, I think I was like 2016 maybe, and the owner comes up to me and they said, hey, would you like to work here? I was like, what? They're like, well, we're trying to get a younger demographic in here, and having a younger employee or whatever, I think would help with that. And I just laughed because I was like, why not? I'm not looking for a job. I'm literally just looking at fabric. But um, yeah, I think it's funny because prior to that, it was older ladies quilting.
hmm
That's what they because they said, well, what do you make? And I was like, oh, I kind of dabble in everything. I like to make baby stuff, but I'm really been into like making bags and stuff. And I'm like, really? But I wasn't writing at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah.
I was just sewing. And this was before like social media was really a big
Mm-hmm.
thing to promote any sort of business. So it
Mm-hmm.
was just funny though.
Yeah.
And that's true. If you find someone who's young, who sews or crochets or any other granny hobby, you kind of want to get them to work for you so that
Yeah.
people can think maybe it's cool or something.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
cool, by the way.
It is cool.
It is.
It's and it's funny too because when you tell people that you sew handbags and stuff, people are all immediately go to like the quilted fabric bags or like, something that your grandma would have made or like
Mhm.
something Vera Bradley-esque.
Here, Bradley-esque.
They don't
That's what I was
really,
thinking.
yeah, like they don't really like, so I don't like to tell people that I sew handbags because I don't like the look on their face because they're like, okay, like you
Yeah.
have a hobby, that's fine.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes. Cute.
right. And because I do technically design handbags, for me, that's been the happy medium. And it either, if they're intrigued enough to ask further, then I can explain it further. But other than that, it tends to get to leave it at that. And that's it's best for me because I don't want to talk about myself in that way. So,
And
to
I've had a lot
strangers.
of people actually think that me making bags meant I bought, the tote from Hobby Lobby and added patches or added
Yeah.
fabric to a
Mm-hmm.
pre-made bag. They didn't know that I did it from scratch. So when they
Yeah.
found that out, they're like, you can do that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a lot of people do that. Like, they
Yeah.
don't necessarily buy bags just to
I
embellish them.
mean,
Like, we make it
to
from
be fair,
scratch.
that's what most of us felt the second
Yeah.
we got into this little community, of like, wait, I never thought about doing that, like I could do that. That's great,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're just watching other people have that moment in real time, which is pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I wanted to ask you about a couple other things before we jump into listener questions. But one of them was about your retreats. So you have taught in person at various events over the
Mm-hmm.
years. Um, that's actually the how I met you the first time was through
Yeah.
the Wizardry Getaway Retreat.
Yeah, those
Um,
are a blast.
yeah, but you've recently started doing your own. So can you talk a little bit more about that and if you're still teaching outside of those events?
Um, you know, I'm not opposed to teaching outside. It's just I don't think people realize the expense involved to go teach a class out of state, like
Yeah.
the flying cost, the hotel cost, the food
Mm-hmm.
cost, just to
Mm-hmm.
teach one class really does not make it worthwhile for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it's in an event, I'm not vending. Like a lot of people vend and teach, and that's where they make their money, but that's not the case for me. So to agree to travel
Yeah.
somewhere, it's tough because unless I'm doing you a favor, it's like that's going to cost me quite a bit of money.
Right. It's really hard to
Um,
make a return on that investment there.
oh,
It's almost
yeah,
always it's a loss. You're
it
doing it
is.
to go and have fun.
It, yeah, go see the event, go to
Mm-hmm.
the event, sure. Um, the wizardry retreats were such a blast.
Mm-hmm.
Loved that. And but each one that I did, I was thinking, like, I talk with my husband and so fun. Like, if I get asked, I'm going. Like, it is just one of those opportunities. These retreats are just core memories. But I said my only problem was like I personally wouldn't want to go to a retreat to make a project I've already made on a foreign machine and all that other stuff. I'd rather watch a video, if anything, do a
Mm-hmm.
virtual class in my own setting. So if I were to do a retreat or go to a class, I would want to learn something new. So I would
Mm-hmm.
want it to be skills focused. So he had said one day, well, he's like, well, why don't you do a retreat? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, no way do I want to cook for a crowd of people. He's like, well, you don't have to cook. Like, we'd find a place where they would have it on site or we'd cater it. I'm like, damn straight you would. I'm not putting that on my plate either. But I know Melissa of Wizardry would say that she couldn't find a place that compared to this cute little
That she could also drive to.
renovated. Yeah, because she could bring all that stuff for sure. But couldn't find anything that compared that would house the amount of people and have the rooming on site and stuff like that. So I really thought I'd run into that same problem. But I was like, well, if I did it, I just want different goals in mind. Like I would want to focus on something like what would I be willing to take and spend this kind of money to do? So it's like, well, I'd want to learn something I don't currently know or have access to here. So that's kind of what started it all. And then I was like, but realistically, we're not going to be able to find a place to house all these people that will suit our needs and stuff. But so basically, when you're looking, it's pretty much like kids camps that are popping up that have food on site. And then it's very kids camp-esque. Like kids don't take care of stuff. So I went to one place. I was like, yep, it's not going to happen. Like, we're not going to find it. And then we happened to find this one place in Wisconsin that allowed us, based on the size we had all the rooms in one building. It had 3 levels. It had kitchen on site. Somebody else would be cooking for it. And then we would get the whole building to ourselves. People wouldn't have to stay at a hotel and drive in. They wouldn't have to go on an outbuilding and walk in. So that was why I ended up doing my own retreat. It wasn't because I was like, this sounds easy. Knew it wouldn't be easy. Just listening to Melissa's experiences and just watching how she was running it. I'm just like, this is gonna be a lot of work, and I don't want to do this by myself. And that's why my husband's like, we'll take care of that. You figure out what you want to teach, the materials you want to use. We'll find the venue. We'll figure out the pricing. We'll figure out all of the other stuff. So again, my brother-in-law, Stefan, he's very much hands-on my business because he had started his own business that does a lot of what my small business needed. So that was one thing we could offload onto him. So, and he has a big history of being in youth ministry. So he was used to coordinating camps and big organization stuff. So that was easy for him. And then he's got a banking background. So budgeting and financing and getting all that, the logistics figured out. Again, easy peasy for him, where for me, no idea. I just told him my receipts, what I spent on each thing. Here you go. And then he took care of that stuff. So I could just kind of focus on the kits, focus on the experience, and show up and do it. But just like you, as much fun as those things are, they're absolutely draining.
Yeah, they're very draining.
Very. And I'm an introvert, so it's add that complication to it, because I want to be present, and you're always trying to watch for everybody, make sure they're on task and having a good time. Nobody's being excluded and stuff, but just to be on for the long weekend. Yeah. By the time I get home, just like...
Even the sound, even for me, the sound alone is exhausting. Just hearing so many people
all
talk,
the machines.
And all the machines, and just like hearing that for hours on end, when I'm so used to being home alone for most of the hours during the week, it's very overwhelming for me. But not also, if for me, I was DJ Tim Chula, so it's like I was on display, but I'm also there as a person, right? So like people are looking to me, so like there's pressure, there's so much going on, so I couldn't imagine hosting one. But it has to be a lot. But
I definitely knew. I mean, the team makes all the difference, but also, I mean, there's the stress thing is that if it's a failure, it's a Linds Handmade failure. Yeah. But if it's successful, it's because we have this amazing team, which is the truth. So that's where I felt that immense pressure. I couldn't delegate the kit prep to other people because it was important that they were cut accurately, marked accurately, and that everything was in that thing. So if someone's like, hey, I'm missing a zipper tab, I'm like, in there. Like I did these kits, like I know they're complete and whatever. I had a process. But like if you prepped them for me, I'd be like, Shannon, do we maybe miss zipper tab? Like I would be a mess.
Right.
So my husband was just like, delegate something. Like if we need to fly people here to help you, like do that. I go, I can't delegate certain things. And the things that are stressful are the ones that I can't delegate. So
it's just a necessary evil sometimes,
really
with things like that. It's why
it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth it. Like, I mean,
they're very wholesome, they're very like fulfilling, to hear people tell you nice things to your face, and then to watch them experience the joy that you got to experience,
Mm-hmm.
on your own. So it really is fulfilling in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also, I think that's, for me, I would never do a retreat, and I also don't really like doing class kits or anything like that, which is where a good chunk of your money is going to come from, but, attaching to that tickets, making sure your time is paid for. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I just, open sews at So Whatever Studios is like great for me, because it's like,
Sounds
let's
perfect.
just come and get together and like,
Literally, so whatever.
yes, exactly. It's like that's
Yes.
what I want. I just want to be together. I don't necessarily want to do anything else. But while I'm here, feel free to
Yes.
pick my brain as
Yes.
much as you want, and they do.
Yes.
Um,
Love it.
it's really great time. So I get that part of it. But organizing one,
Yeah.
like it's hard for me to even
Yes.
organize the damn goodie bags that I pass out. So there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think we're actually going to jump into listener questions now, just for the time crunch. So we're at the point where we do the final press pass, which is where Patreon subscribers submit listener questions for you.
Okay.
So Tara has 2 questions.
Oh.
And the first one is, where does your pattern name inspiration come from?
Oh. Usually, like in the beginning, it wasn't so much. There was just I would ask people for suggestions, like, what should I name this? And then other times, if someone asks me for that specific design, I'll usually name it after them.
Okay.
Or just somebody who's been incredibly supportive of my business, or close family friend, something, kind of honor them in that way.
Okay.
And it happens to go, then I'll do that. Like Fiona fold over, a little alliteration, easy to remember. That's my niece. The Stefan Sport Duffel, that's my brother-in-law, who's very hands-on in my business. Stuff like that. The Dana pack was a friend of mine who actually asked for an all leather fanny pack style. So I was like, it should be called the Dana pack. That's kind of how but like the Guardian anti-theft, that was more of it's guarding your belongings, because the opening is on your back. So sometimes if I couldn't quite think of a name, and because it was a bag I wanted, then I'll ask people's suggestions. But lately it's been based on people who are suggested it or important to me.
So you never really came into it with a true like naming convention?
No, but I will look online to see, is there this pattern?
Yeah.
I will do a hashtag search, and I will Google that. Like, just type it in. What am I seeing? If I don't see anything, then I feel like it's fair game, which I think it is important to do.
Yes.
I wish more people did it.
Yes.
Gosh, the amount of Luna bags there are out there. Good Lord. I mean, I even thought about it once, but I was like, that would be perfect for that shape. But whew, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. I think I'll be good with Gertrude. I don't think there's any pattern
I think
names
you're
with
pretty
that.
solid on Gertrude. Is that what the big bag is?
Yeah.
Gertrude?
Yeah. The story behind that is that it is based off of my mother-in-law. So I like to name mine based off of like some form of a strong woman or female. It could be a fictional character, could be my cat, could be my mother-in-law. Okay, could be my good friend. So it's always kind of like with that in mind. Not necessarily the design is not necessarily tied to the name, but sometimes I need to attach it to somebody. So it's kind of like a little in honor of. And she used to have, I don't know if I said this on the show, I feel like I did, but she has 4 kids, and my husband is one of them, and they would, it's funny you're talking about checking for names, because she would forget their names. Like she would say the wrong name, essentially, not forget their names, but she would say the wrong name, like, oh, I mean the other kid. And finally she would just be like, Gertrude. And so when I was trying to name this one, I knew it was going to be based on her, and Belle is her name that she goes by. She's got like 4 billion names. Anyway. And so, but there's like so many bell patterns. And so I was like, well, I can't name it that. And so I was struggling, and my husband we were joking, and it reminded him of that story. And I was like, well, I guess I could call it the Gertrude. And it's like, it's funny because it's huge. So it's like matches even more perfectly. So I don't have to worry about that. But I did have to Google and see if there are any other patterns, which I've done with every one of my patterns.
Yes, I've not heard of any Gertrudes. I
Same.
think you're good.
I couldn't find it. But there's still time, so we'll see.
Oh.
Um, okay, and so Tara's next question is, are you ever inspired by any other people's designs? Like
Inspired by other people's?
patterns, or I believe patterns, designer bags, or anything like that.
Um, you know, no, I don't look at designer bags. I can certainly admire and appreciate other designers' bags, and I'll admit that every time, let's be real, every time I see somebody else release a pattern, I'll get that imposter syndrome. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I even in this space? Like, I
Same.
don't belong here. They're incredible. Look what they're doing. And especially if I don't have anything in the pipeline that I'm
Right.
proud of. I'm just
Right.
like, who am I kidding? So, and I hate that because I know I've spoken to a lot of people. We all kind of get
Imposter
that
syndrome. Yeah.
insecurity, but that's what's incredible is that we all can come up with these different ideas. Like, how in the world did she think of that? How in the world did she come up with that technique? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
suck, but every time. So I mean, I can admire and appreciate other designers' bags for sure, but I wouldn't say that I'm looking at other designers to inspire my patterns, if that's what she's asking.
I'm not really sure, but yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that there is some inherent inspiration that's going to come
Hmm.
from some other people's designs. You know, if you like,
Yeah.
hey, that looks really good that way, and I'm not going to look at how you did it, but I might find a way to implement something. So I think like that's kind of stuff is inherent. Like all of
Hmm.
us are going to find similar solutions and similar styles and stuff. There's really genuinely only so many ways to make a bag.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I
if
think
someone
that's
comes
fair.
up with a great technique that now is becoming an industry standard, like
Yes.
I hope it wouldn't be considered copying, but it's like you just already know people are going to prefer that method because it works
Yes.
and it's great technique, like know better, do better type of thing. Like I hope that it
Yes.
wouldn't come across as like stealing from somebody, but being inspired, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then just going with, a better way to do it. So now you do it a better
Yeah.
way.
So my pivot from the Gertrude while she is in her little creative timeout, I had inspiration for something else. And the
Yay.
construction method is I've made a bunch of them. I'm looking at them right there. They're tiny. But they're fun and it really gives me a lot of joy. But the whole construction method was kind of made popular by one specific designer. And so I've had this discussion with my friends along the way of like, it's kind of like the only way of sorts to make this kind of a design. So I have to come to terms with like that is just how this is made, even though somebody else was kind of brought it to the pattern world for us and
Mm-hmm.
kind of led the way, they walked so we could run, essentially. I I had to really come to terms with that because you also can't copyright
Mm-hmm.
or do anything like that with techniques. You can't
Sure.
do that. Your pictures, the text that you write, and your pattern, those are all yours, but you can't say, that's my technique, and I'm going to poo-poo on everyone else that
Yep.
is using that. And so I really had to come to my own terms with that and make it my own, like take it as a
Mm-hmm.
guiding light and say, I see you and we're going to go forth.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a balance that can be stricken with that in the way of like, if you are, then credit, I think should at least be attempted to be given. Like it's not required and because they don't own
Sure.
it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think that community to community, I think that that's helpful. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm going to do in my pattern when I release this one is just be like, hey, thanks so and so. Here's a link to her website in my own pattern, right? I don't even allow that in my group, but I'm going to put that physically in my pattern just to be like, hey, you know, designer, I appreciate it. But also, like,
Yeah.
other people have taken techniques that I have come up with in my own brain and,
Mm-hmm.
like, they've gone forth and conquered. And I think that when you can add to a community with these techniques, right? Know better, do better. Um,
Yeah.
it's great. Somebody was the first to do an overlay in our community, and like now it's industry standard.
Yeah.
Same with various other techniques. So I, I think that there's balance and I think the community first kind of mentality is the way that we
I agree.
navigate that.
Hmm.
Okay, and then Laurel's question is, how do you know when a design is finished?
Oh, when it's finished,
Yeah, what's your
it's
feeling there?
it's served its purpose for me. So if I needed it to hold a water bottle, or if I need it to be a certain size to accommodate a certain thing, then I can make it start to finish without any tweaks. It serves its purpose. I know that it's done. I can't, like I said, I can't have it where I'm like, oh, this part's tripping me up every time, and I know it's going to trip other people up.
Yeah,
I have to figure this out. And that's the one that's like, if everybody could release a pattern, I almost think that they should, because it forces you to really nail down a process
mm-hmm.
and a design so that you can give it its absolute best. Because,
Yeah,
like my Rick roll top backpack, like I
mm-hmm.
was really struggling. I'm like, these padded backpack straps people are gonna get to this step and hate me. Like, how can I do this where it's not painful? And I was
Mm-hmm.
like losing sleep at night, and I'm just thinking about it and thinking about it until, you have this aha moment. And I'm like, let's give it a try, and it works out. Well, if I wasn't releasing the pattern, I wouldn't have given it that much time and
Right.
attention. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
cared. But because I was going to sell it as a paid pattern and hope people loved it, I had to figure that out
right,
before moving forward.
right.
So if
It's
I don't have any pain points, it's some things are expected, but if you can get through it and I don't have to tweak it, or it's not sitting right with me, then I know that design is done.
right. What's that saying? Something along the lines of like necessity is the mother of invention. So I'm sure that
Yes.
I just butchered that, but
No,
something
that,
along those lines is
yep.
like, yeah, it forces you to critical think. It forces you to try that
Yes.
much harder, and I think that that's very true. And if
Hmm.
you're already modifying a decently complex bag, hacking it in some way, shape, or form, then you're pretty much primed and ready to start pattern designing. But
Hmm.
remember, it's not as easy as you may think it is to get past that point. All the other
Yeah.
stuff is also work, but still, you're right. It does kind of force that critical thinking and that just a little bit of extra effort.
Mhm.
So the last question is a bit of an outlier here, and this is from Brianna, and she asks, "Are your curls natural? And if not, what is your hair routine?"
Isn't that funny? I used to get so many messages. What is your hair routine? My hair is stick straight, okay? And it's about 3 to my head total. I do not have curly hair at all. When I was 20 weeks pregnant with my youngest, I went and visited my cousin, and she said she had this tiny curling iron, literally like the width of my
Mm-hmm.
pinky. She's like, "Can I put curls in your hair?" I'm like, okay. I'm like, am I gonna look like Shirley Temple? She goes, probably. I'm like, again, it's the middle of a pandemic. Like,
Right.
we're on this road trip. I'm like, nobody's gonna see me. That's fine. And she did my whole head. She took little 1/4 inch sections and did my whole head. And I'm like, oh, this is different. It's kind of cute. I have a pregnant 20-week photo with my hair and the curls. And then, like, literally, I would just kind of pick through it with a loose pick, like separate the curls in the morning. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's even better on day 2. And then day 3. And I don't know what it is, but it was like during my pregnancy, I didn't have to wash my hair like I do now. Like, I don't know if the oil is, or if my dry shampoo was doing it. I don't know, but I could use those curls for like a solid week. Just,
Nice.
running my fingers through it. It was the easiest hairstyle to maintain. Looks cute up, looked cute down, and it made it look like thicker than what I actually had. And then, of course, pregnancy hair, your hair's not falling out. So I loved the curls. Loved it. I mean, the initial curling, it takes 45 minutes, but
Mm-hmm.
to last a week, worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it. And I miss them because I chopped all my hair off in November. So I think I'm going to grow a little bit back because I want to be able to throw it up in a ponytail, put it in
Yeah.
cute braids or a bubble. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
miss the easy, no fuss, but looks like you put effort in
Yeah.
hairstyles that you can't really do with short hair.
No. I
Yeah.
about a week or two before I started the show, my hair was pretty long. It never gets like as long. I tend to get my hair cut like once a year because I'm horrible about stuff like that.
Yeah, but
And
yeah.
and I said I would like a shoulder length bob, like with a subtle bob. And I came in and they gave me a chin length. I've went short before, but I haven't got a cut since then. It's due for a cut now. Like I can see it. But it's very much like, oh my gosh, like I miss being able to put it up. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind it because it feels like it's less effort to make it look nicer and like to leave the house. Like I'm not spending 20 minutes curling my hair. You know, I'm not spending
Yeah.
20 minutes blow drying my hair. But I can't have a lazy day and feel like I don't look like I just
Right?
walked off the street homeless, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you know, more power to you homeless people, but that's not the look I'm going for. Um anyway. So I get it. I
And we
probably
had a
just
dress
stick
up
longer.
occasion recently, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with my hair. Like, what
Mhm.
looks fancy that's not everyday like this is my long hair, but my hair is so thin that it doesn't look great let down. Like I
Yeah,
try to
mine's the
use
same.
curls or the textury, gritty stuff to give it volume, but it just flattens out and ends up looking kind of stringy. So I'm just like, I have no business keeping my hair down, but I miss just being able to do fun, cute hairstyles that are actually very simple, but they look like you give a crap about your
Yeah,
hairstyle.
yeah. And less effort, you know,
Less
being able to
effort.
just put it up.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Um, Now it's time for you to ask me a question.
Hmm. Does it have to be bag making
It
related
can
or
be
anything?
anything. It can be anything.
So I'm curious if you could have any like superpower, what would you choose?
If I could have any superpower, what would I choose? I mean, obviously, the obvious one is fun. Like, who wouldn't want to fly? But I would
Yeah.
like to take that further, and I would just like to teleport. Like, please let me
Like
teleport
I want to be
into
there.
my
Just go.
family's bedroom. Or not bedroom. I said that. I don't mean that. I meant living room. I don't want to be in my family's bedroom. Thank you. But I would like to pop into the living room of my family.
Yeah.
Thank you. Unless it was a spare bedroom where the bed is made and I can just get in and go to sleep. I love this. I'm just
Yeah.
digging my hole. I should stop. But yeah. So I would love to teleport. Like, right, if I can just like be anywhere else at any given time without having to plan travel, pay for travel, all the
Mhm.
traveling, the time, and it would be so nice to just pop over here, pop back to Japan, you know, go back over
Yeah.
here. That would be a lot of fun.
That would be cool.
Hmm. Um, okay, so now it's time for the mantras. So my mantra this week is just because you could be doing more doesn't mean you aren't doing enough. And for me, I felt that that was really something that I needed to hear in these last couple of weeks. I had a meeting with my accountant a couple weeks ago that was like, okay, Shannon, get your shit together. And so I really felt like I panicked a lot, and then I kind of got out of that panic and like realized it's okay. Like you can find a balance here. You're fine. Like we got this. It's not an immediate fix, but you're doing enough. Okay,
Hmm.
and you don't have to do everything. You can do stuff. You don't have to do everything, and it's still good. And so anyway, that really stuck out to me, and it was something that I thought would be a good mantra, especially just for
It's a
me
great
right
one.
now.
Agreed. I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and keeping up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
like, and I feel like that's why everybody's so burnt out, so high
Yeah.
strung, and just not pausing to appreciate the little joys. Like, I
Yeah.
get an iced coffee. That's highlight of my day. Like, gotta stop and appreciate that moment and the little things and practice gratitude every day, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
everything's too much go, go, go. I gotta keep up,
Yeah.
and nobody's happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to be viral. You don't have to go viral. You don't have to offer all the things. You don't have to push yourself to the absolute limit. Like it's okay to be comfortable sometimes and sit in that for sure.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
what is your mantra?
Mine is trust the process. Um, just if trust the process. You don't have to have it all figured out before you jump into something. You can
Mm-hmm.
just trust that somebody else is guiding you correctly and just trust the process.
That's fair. That's fair. And that's very important for sewing patterns, guys.
Yes. There's a method to our madness. There's a reason generally I told you to do it.
Yeah.
Especially Shannon.
Yeah.
You do what Shannon tells you to do.
You
You're gonna
can't.
find out the hard way why.
Yeah. Please don't make assumptions in my patterns, because what's the whole I'm trying to keep it together because I don't know how much of your family's gonna watch this, so I've been watching my language, I will say. But with my patterns, you will fuck around and find out. Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so where can people find you? Where do the socials that people, your handles and all that good stuff?
I am most active in my Facebook group, which is Linds Handmade Designs, and Instagram is the social media platform that I'm most comfortable with. So I tend to post to Instagram most and then share it to others. I have a TikTok account, but I don't actually care about it. I feel like people are really mean over there. So I was like, I'm not going to focus on that. But I do have my YouTube channel because every single one of my patterns has a how-to video done by me at the time of launch. So my YouTube channel isn't crazy active where I'm uploading videos all the time. It's if there's a hack or there's a tip, but mainly it's for my video tutorials. Yeah. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook group, and YouTube, I would say, are my big ones.
Fair. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really great talking shop. And I must say, as a last note, over the years, we have learned that you and I are very much like opposites. And it was so funny because colors is one of the things that we are very opposite on. And we both wore the colors that we like, that we dislike from one another. And
I do wear a lot of the color you're wearing too, but usually you like a darker forest green, which I don't like.
Pretty much,
all the color.
It's this shade of green and darker. It's all of that's for me. Anything lighter than this shade of green is not for me. And for those that are listening,
neon, everything, magenta, pink, any shade of pink, I am good with.
No, if it's a muted, dusty mauve or like a dusty pink, like sure, I'll sew with it. I don't own anything with it.
No,
nothing. I don't own. I have some socks. I have these flip flops. They're Nike flip flops. And the little tag on it that said Nike was hot pink. And I took a Sharpie over it because I was like, no, I don't care if anyone. It was a black tag with like bright pink text, and I was like,
I loved it.
No, not for me. I like the flip flop, not that. So
neon for me all year round. I don't follow the season trends. If it's bright and happy, put it on me.
I do feel like it works better with your hair color than mine, though. Like, it does complement.
Have you ever done those color analysis? I've heard about them. I've never done it. But I can tell, like, what I like me in better than other things or feel washed out in. But I've never had that done. It sounds fascinating.
No, I have just picked up what people compliment me on in the colors. And
that makes sense.
Medium to dark greens. And it's pretty much any shade of blue. That's apparently, I don't know if there's science to that, but that's... Also,
do you have green eyes? Are your eyes green?
I have hazel eyes, so it's like brown and green.
Okay.
But no, I'll also like, this is what I buy, so that could be another factor in it. Like maybe the bright stuff looks great on me, would never know. So anyway, I just thought that was funny, and I noticed that the second that we got on the call. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I hope
happy to do it. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely,
it was fun. Good luck with the next season of this. I'm sure people love to hear.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people love Talk Shop and hear other people's processes with their small business and hobbies and stuff. Right. So I'm glad that you're doing this.
There's so many more people out there to talk to too. So there is space for season 2. When it will happen is yet to be determined, but I am like 99% sure it will happen at some point in 2027. So
cool.
Yep.
Best of luck.
Thank you. So if this episode taught you nothing else, it taught you that opposites can absolutely exist and still succeed. That's something that Linds and I have just known about each other since day one, is that we are very, very different creatures. We are not necessarily cut from the same cloth, but we can still exist in the same space, and that is great. we can have different preferences, different ways of doing things, different dynamics with our business, different setups and everything. But both of us can still respect the other's work, and we can still, like I said, exist in this same space together through this, community where different minds can behave differently and still just enjoy the same thing. And I think that that's like a small example of the big picture of this whole season of Splitting Seams, is that everyone has their own way of doing things. Everyone has come into our community with a different background, a different idea, different preferences, but yet we can all connect and we can all enjoy this space together, even if it's just so different for all of us. And what it means and how we interact in it and on all those things. It can still be successful. It can still be fun. It can still be special. And we can all be different and still just enjoy it just as much. But it's not without its challenges. And I think that, like, as much as I would love to say that this show was solely about the guests and solely for the viewers and listeners, so much of this was also a very personal journey for me. I learned so much about myself, my business, and my own sewing journey in this show. And I find that to be so invaluable. But then also the fact that we've shared it, and I have just kind of taken the approach this whole season of, like, I'm just going to say what I feel. Poor Legs' legs couldn't hold it anymore. For those that are watching, you maybe just saw Linds's poor leg, or Legs' poor leg fall down. Okay. I have no idea what I was talking about, but pretty much I think that what I was going to say was that it's not without its challenges. Even though we can enjoy these things, even though we can succeed, it's not without effort. It's not always as easy as it could be, or it is in other times. It's like any other business and any other community. It has its challenges, it has its pressure, it has its tension, but it's also, at the end of the day, we all still love bag making. We still love sewing. We still love this art form that so many of us have just really invested our time, energy, and passion into. And to be able to kind of enjoy that and share that and have a connection because of that through this other medium, which is a podcast, was really special for me. And so for all of you that commented and shared how what we talked about connected with you, and you left the encouraging words, and you laughed with us, and you shared your opinion that was different than ours in the comments, and those of you who supported me through Patreon or just through engaging with the show in any way, I can't tell you how much it means to me that, you did that you were there and you joined in, and we just kind of found a new way to connect as a community. Even though it's just a little small pocket in the community, it felt very special. And so I am really looking forward to season 2. I've said this so many times. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to come, but I know that it will come eventually. And so I want it to happen, so it will happen, right? It's always when I'm not sure if I want it to happen that things don't happen. But this one is definitely something that I am really looking forward to, but it does need to have a gap because there's a lot of life that's going to happen for us in the next year and a half. But it's all good stuff, but it does make things busy. So for those of you who are excited about season 2, please know that it will come, but it will be a while. But in the meantime, at some point in the future, I will be having a bonus episode where I'm going to sit down with a couple of the guests on the show that we've had, and we'll talk a little bit about the show, and we'll talk about maybe our favorite moments or the most impactful moments and things like that. But I want to give those guests some time to consume more of the episodes. As we know, they are long as hell. But yeah, so I think that'll be fun, and that will be a bonus episode. I don't have a date on that just yet. Initially, I planned to do it right after this one, but I think that I want to give them and myself more time to sit and reflect on it. So stay tuned for that. And that brings us to our final Seam Society shout out for this season. But first, I do want to just say again, I know I've said it so many times, but I really do mean it. Like, thank you so much to all the Patreon subscribers on both tiers and the free tier as well for, just telling me that you agree with my vision or you want to support that. And, when you're someone like me who, as we talked about in this episode, doesn't have a business degree, doesn't really know exactly what I'm doing, has a hard time advertising, or I have my own challenges and I have to overcome them. And I'm doing that. But then to also have outside support, it makes overcoming those challenges and those fears that much easier. And so thank you so much for supporting me and believing in me. And if you get the chance and you feel the same way about another project or another product from another company or another designer or person in this space, please do the same for them if you can and you're able, because it may seem like such a tiny thing on your side of things, but on us, it means the world. And I just can't thank you enough. So for our Seam Society, thank you so much to Tara V, Jessica A, Hua V, Nicole H, Olivia C, Stacy K, Jabby S, Greg H, Laurel Z, Nyasha J, Ash, Sam W, Eileen, Jess P, Carrie C, Gina S, and Brianna. And thank you to those subscribers who only subscribed for a couple of months or for the beginning or came in towards the end. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Your subscription has made the world of a difference to me. So thank you so very much. And to all of the Loose Threads subscribers, that is solely the support tier on Patreon, thank you all so much. It's one thing to give money in exchange for knowing that you're going to provide support and also get some bonus things. But there's something that's also really special about just subscribing, knowing that you're financially supporting somebody else without receiving any bonus perks in that way, or at least the bare minimum. So that was very, very special for me to receive from you, and I appreciate all of you Loose Threads subscribers as well. Truly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And for all of the listeners and viewers, I do this for you. I wish I was one of you. I've said this before on the show. I wish that I could also be someone that just engages and watches this from afar and not necessarily be the one that produces it. But I'm so glad that it has resonated with so many of you, from just telling me how much you tell yourself to do the damn thing now, and those of you who have taken the mantras and the quotes from the show and really taken them to heart as well, and others that just said nice things and we're happy to hear from your favorite designers and makers. Yeah, thank you so much for all of that. I obviously couldn't do any of this without you. So I will stop rambling and I'll stop saying thank you 4 million times. I won't see you again in 2 weeks, but I will see you again at some point in the future for that bonus episode. And then I will be sure to announce it whenever season 2 is finally ready to happen. So thank you so very much.